Stop right there. Hands in the air and sit back down. We got some games to commentate. Well, we do. You have to just sit there and watch them. My name is George, joined by Hex once again. We're going to jump into the Asia games today. We got Charge first up. The Hunters first up. Then we got London taking on the Spark.
Yeah, and if you made the choice to stay up late at night, if you're in the North American region, then you made the right choice because these games are actual bangers. I'm super excited for these. If they happen to be in your time zone, well, you lucky duck, you live in the right part of the world. The region that we're about to cast tonight.
There it is. That's fine.
Is
Maybe
amazing.
the banana scared you a little bit and you hit the key. I'm not entirely sure.
Regardless,
it's going to be a whole bunch of fun. We've got some rather interesting games coming up, and let's talk about the first one right now, Hunters versus Charge. And where are Charge looking currently? Hex, I know we spoke a little bit about it before off camera, but in your personal power rankings, you've been rating them fairly highly, and I'm not too shocked, to be honest. They had a bit of a rough start at the start of the season, but now they've kind of shot up completely. Hunters, a little bit less so. They're not looking as strong. Okay, maybe I'm just on my own right now. I think Hex is just resetting a couple of things. Well, there it is. Don't make me bring out the banana again. Sit back down. Hex is gone, but I'm still here. This is my late night snack, actually. I've got that in a protein shake. But Charge have a little bit of a different roster today as well. We did see Nero on Twitter today saying he was going to step back from today's game, just sit back and chill, basically, for the next week, I assume. And we're going to not see him in the roster, which does lead me to believe we've got Eileen and Happy in, which is extremely exciting considering Happy's going to be able to play Widowmaker at some point. So that is going to be rather fun. And although we do see Tracer being banned, I think it's going to be a little bit more aggressive dive like we've seen from the Asian matches, or sorry, the Asian region over the last couple of weeks. So that's going to be pretty good. I'm waiting for my... is Hex potentially back? I don't think he is. So we're just going to keep on talking. So, what's best? What's really cool about this hero? Maybe that's Hex now. Hello. Okay, let's have a look at the May standings though up on your screen, while we quickly sort Hex's small issue. Shouldn't be too much longer, though. He's just getting back into it. Now, of course, the May tournament does start very, very soon. And look who we have at the top. We got Charge. Hunters, unfortunately, sitting near the bottom of the board, next to Dynasty. Charge, however, 3-0 with a +7 as well map score. Looking so strong going into next week. And they look almost unstoppable. I don't want to put them on like Shanghai Dragons level currently, because I think they do look the best team in the league, but Charge definitely up there. I'd say top 4, and without seeing the Asia region play against the Americas region currently, it's a little bit harder to tell, but just on the cleanliness of play, I think Dragons and Charge are definitely some of the top contenders currently. Philadelphia, of course, we're going to see them perform exceptionally well next week, and I can imagine it would be a rather close game if we saw them play up against someone like the Dragons or Charge. Hunters just need a big turnaround here. It's been a rather interesting couple of weeks, I must say, especially with teams like Seoul Dynasty as well, who aren't really performing well at all without a double shield in Seoul. Hunters are yet to find their footing. I mean, we're seeing a little bit more aiming on Wrecking Ball, and it's a safe pick, I believe, just throughout the entirety of the Overwatch League, you could say, because he's not going to be played a whole bunch. The likelihood of him actually getting taken out of the hero pool, I think, is pretty slim. So the question really does lie on what is really happening with the Hunters currently. And I think...
yeah.
The DPS is just not performing up to scratch. Hex, you're back. There we go.
Well,
nice.
Maybe. We're testing out.
Okay.
The real question is if I'm back or not, because everything looks good on my end.
Okay, you're a little bit roboty for me, but that might just be me.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I've restarted everything. We'll see if production is going to tell me if everything's going good. I have so much to talk about. I'm so excited about these games, and I'm hoping it's all working out. Still don't know from production, but I'm going to keep talking, and maybe Maybe people can read my lips. Yeah, okay, apparently not. So what you said was wonderful, and you're extremely, extremely smart. I do have Guangzhou rated rather highly, despite the fact that their record does maybe not indicate that they're amazing. I think their roster is really, really strong, and we're going to see how that ends up pairing out tonight. The later game tonight, we looked at the rankings, like the Spitfire and the Spark, both sitting 1 and 2 in these standings. They both need that game really badly, and we'll talk a lot about both those teams. There's a lot to talk about both those teams when we cross that bridge. But who do you think is going to start for the Charge tonight? Because there's some rumblings on social media.
Yeah, so I did talk about just a little bit there when you were gone, but with...
I'm sorry.
It's fine, don't worry, it's fine. We'll catch you up to speed, it's all good. We've got Nero taking a little bit of a step back, which means Eileen and Happy are going to be in. Let's bring the Charge roster up on your screen right now, and we can just kind of run through it. With the DPS, especially with the map pool coming up, I mean, we're maybe seeing a little bit of... Happy on Widowmaker, and I should hope so. We've also got Rio and Krong on the tank lineup, and to support them, Chara and Chu.
Yeah, Char and Shu, you always know what you're going to get from them. That's exactly what you want from your supports. I think the supports in this region in particular are just ridiculously good and sturdy, solid, stable. The big question mark, as you mentioned, is Nero's going to be out, so I kind of wonder how's their Echo play going to end up looking. We know what Happy can do on the Widow. I've said it time and time again. He's my favorite Widowmaker. His target acquisition is second to none. Eileen is good. Krong, I think, is a standout addition to this team, has really elevated their play. And, yeah, the record's not great, but they seem to be getting better and better every week. And, you know, this Chengdu team is a team that is very beatable, unless you're the Seoul Dynasty, apparently. But the Chengdu team, if you're the Charge, this is a game that you expect to win.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, especially if we got Happy in now, a hit scan, just God, and then we have an Echo being played alongside that as well. I don't think there's really any room, it feels like, for the Hunters to play something like an Echo, although Echo obviously is permapick right now because of how strong that hero is.
Pretty good.
Just pretty good. It's absurd. Just enabling dives as well. If we see some sort of dive composition, we've seen a whole bunch of double Winston. Double Reinhardt's obviously a classic as well at this point. I mean, enabling, I think, what Hunters do best, which is the dive along with aim and a Wrecking Ball, changing into something like a Winston is definitely going to help them destroy the backline pretty quickly. Let's have a look at the Hunters starting lineup, though, on your screens right now. Jinmu and Leave on DPS. We've got Among and Elsa, of course, on the tank. And Molly and Yveltal on support.
Yeah, the last two you mentioned had probably their best set that I've seen them play in a very long time against the Seoul Dynasty last night. Molly and Yveltal both just crushed on it. I think Molly got player of the game, but you could have given it to Yveltal. They both played really, really well. And Leave was a one-man wrecking crew. But when I was watching the Seoul versus Chengdu game, he was very clearly the best damage dealer in the entire server. And I've been watching him since OWPS days. He's always been one of the best Chinese players in the entire world, which is no small feat. And I expect great things from him on the McCree. If we see like Happy have to go to McCree, then I give Leave the advantage. If they run a Widow, I don't know, Chengdu maybe, I guess, bring someone off the bench. Maybe Bacon Jack comes in, if like a Gibraltar, if you end up in a Widow duel, something like that. But I think Happy's got some of the better hit skin there. But don't sleep on Leave because he absolutely crushed last night.
Yeah, he did. And I think the hallmark of a good team is having a good backbone, right? You can almost look at the Hunters and compare them to Gladiators in the sense that Shaz and Big Goose are just such a monumental backline for that team. And if they are performing exceptionally, just not dying, supporting each other and helping the tanks engage, and of course keeping the DPS live as well, it can really set your team up for success. And like you said there, and I want to reiterate on that, Molly and Yveltal looked incredible previously.
They did. And it was the best set I've seen them play.
Exactly.
There's been moments from Yveltal, like we know Yveltal in the air with Jinmu, obviously his Mercy is really good at staying alive and in that supporting role, but he really shined on the Brigitte of all things. You don't really think of Brigitte as a hero that you shine on. We refer to it as Brig Jail in Season 2 when people had to play Brig, but there are some players who are very good at it. Hoxel, still looking for a team, was probably one of the better Brigs that we've ever seen play. So yeah, let's just kick it off. We're going to go to Ilios, beautiful, lovely Greece.
Oh yes, we are. And I love Yveltal as well, picking up the Brig too, because the amount of support Brig provides, especially to your backline, is just incredible, especially something like a Zen who is so fragile. got Happy on the Ashe, Eileen on the Echo, and that's what I wanted to see from the Charge. Just pure dive, pure aggression, set up Happy for success. Happy can obviously protect Shu and Chara pretty well as well. Aiming on the ball, of course. Jinmu's on the Sombra. We haven't got a hit scan matchup and leave on the Soldier, but Happy's just going to be out to outgun him if he's up on this position.
Yeah, Leave will force Soldier in a lot of situations, and this goes back about 3 years. He always ran Soldier even in situations he shouldn't. Happy all alone just gets rocked by the hamster.
Felt like he was a little bit too aggressive there in taking a position. Didn't really have the support of his team. Eileen's going to go down as well. Both DPS now dead for the Charge. Happy is walking back. Point unlocks. Hunters take the first cap. Jinmu finds a kill onto Rio as well. Not too bad at all from the Hunters to start off with.
Yeah, playing Ashe alone against a dive meta is generally not a good idea. Maybe you can get away with it. But playing Ashe alone against the Chengdu Hunters dive meta, you know what they're going to run. You know they're going to run dive even if double shield is supposed to be in vogue.
Hey, man. He's good. Here's all the grapple spots. I haven't seen, there's a lot of ball tech, like a crazy amount. And ball Overwatch, like the ball one trick from EU is pretty insane, and like a lot of that stuff that I didn't know about, like the double boot with the ball is just so powerful at taking out the backline, and you'd expect Among as a master of that at this point, so you've got to be careful. You've got to respect his ability to get to the backline and instantly kill them. High ground taken again by the Charge, but Rio ends up going down once more. I believe maybe he hacked away there as Rio ended up falling. Beautiful headshot by Happy, but Hunters still control the point. Jimmo also has that EMP built up as well. Happy is 5 HP. Please, someone heal him. There are 2 people next to him. Finally getting healed up, but Hunter's in such a good spot going for this next fight. Eileen can't get a word in either. Ends up getting taken down by a pile driver.
Yeah, it seems like most of the damage dealers and even both healers for the Guangzhou Charge are sitting up top while their tanks go in, but they don't really have like a Bap or an Ana to do super effective long-distance healing. Those armor packs on Brigitte are going to run out, and this has been all Chengdu, and it's really just been a rather impotent performance from the Guangzhou Charge.
There's the EMP, 2 people hacked. However, that rally still did a fair bit for the Charge, or it will do, sorry, in a second. Shu jumping in with the Transcendence, but the Bob is already down. A lot of pressure now, relieved from the Hunters, so they do try and get onto the point. Amon finally gets taken out by Shu, but that Tactical Visor is going to zone a whole bunch of the Charge away until Leave gets Dynamite. He has to retreat for himself. Eileen transforming into the Diva to provide even more defense for his backline, who are trying to get onto the point. OT is ticking down as Jinmu ends up falling, as the Hunters are still controlling, although Charge have members on the point. It's just Hunters now trying to buy some more time for themselves and Among to actually get back. Might be worthwhile just taking this fight once again, just try and get as much as they can out of the Charge, which they are doing quite well, in fact, as Rio does use the Primal Rage to secure the kill on Rialto, as Hunters do lose the point, but Charge expended a whole bunch trying to get it back.
That was the point of the push of the Chengdu Hunters, though. They're sitting at 99%, so you're wondering why they're going in. You can't really get any more stall. It's done. They're trying to bait out ultimates, and they were able to get out late. At least Primal Rage came out there. And that's the entire point of the push. Chengdu's in a spot where they only need one more fight. This also might be an eco push because they are a mile away from any real important ults.
Yeah, I mean, you just want to build up the CMP realistically. That's a good start, though. Not too bad at all. Rio's just had such a tough game already, it feels like. Permanently hacked. It's gotten boot buffed by Amon. Rally is going to need to come out for the Hunters fairly soon. Same with Chara. Eileen ends up falling to Molly, of all people. Leave is going to go fairly low as well. Happy finds himself in the danger zone as Amon did booping down from the high ground. Transcendence on the point for the Hunters to keep everybody alive and well as Leave ends up falling. Happy building up towards another Bob, just trying to pick off people on the side. Jinmu's farming him for free at this point, and even Amon as well is straight on top of him. Yveltal eventually gets booped off as he was rallying. A big pickup for the Charge as they continue to hold the point. Hunters did find the flip, which just means Charge aren't actually gaining anything right now, apart from kills and ult Charge for themselves. Hunters eventually fade away into the distance as Charge find the recap.
And it's been rather even in terms of eliminations, too. It's 24-22, and actually the Charge ended up leading that. It's just that they've never been in the right position. They're getting kills late after fights have already been over. But Chengdu is in the position where they want to be in. They're going to have the EMP up, and that's kind of what the last fight was meant to do, is to get you towards ultimate.
That's a beautiful early riding from Charge. They know it's coming as well. Stack up that armor. You're going to be a little bit more hardy when that EMP does come out. Jinmu potentially setting up for it here, just trying to spot out Shu. I'm not entirely sure he knows where it is. They know where Jinmu is now as well. Tactical Visor's coming through as well as Chara ends up going down. Leave just creating so much space for his team. You can see him there hiding with the 2 supports. Happy's going to come back from spawn, but almost chased down by Yveltal. In fact, he's going to send Bob in to create even more space as Bob does land onto the point. Doesn't go off the map this time around. We did see it earlier on, unlucky. Happy and Rialto end up trading as the bomb comes out and kills off Molly. No supports for the Hunters and still sitting on the EMP. They're going to need to do something. Waiting for the Transcendence is going to be a good sign, though. Amon could stall out for a little longer, but no. My goodness, Char comes in with the biggest boost of his life. Hunters now cleared off the point, still sticking on the EMP. It finally comes back, but it might be too little too late. 3 members hacked from the charge, but the Hunters can't quite get back on. Rialto and Molly are going to be the only ones who can touch. It doesn't end up happening. And the mistake from Hunters there. Just leaving that EMP just unused for so long. Just left Charge to come back into the game.
Saving it for next round, apparently. When it did finally come down, it was a day late and $1 short for sure, and they got absolutely nothing on it. It's a difficult ability to use against these kind of compositions that we're seeing a lot. I mean, dive compositions. The tanks are both in different spots. They're not even hanging out together. Oftentimes, there's someone invisible on the other side. Happy was just sitting on the perch. You don't really want to go up there because he's operating in the perfect mid-range for an Ashe, and just he never saw the opportunity to use it. He was getting individual hacks on the point, which, I mean, there's only 2 people on the point. If you hack one, what's the point of the EMP? But it just needed to be a much more concerted effort. I feel like this happens to Chengdu a lot when they're ahead, is they don't know how to close out games, and they don't know how to finish one final fight together because they're ahead, and they all feel like they've all been doing a good job, which they have, and then they kind of start playing alone, it looks like. Their style is to be a little alone, little split up and try to do dives, but as matches go on that they're ahead and they're losing, it's hard for them to really bring it back together as a squad and like just get that definitive map-winning fight.
Well, exactly that. They were waiting for that perfect engagement, but sometimes it never comes. It's like the same, it's kind of like the same thing with the Graviton Surge with the Xayah, right? It's like, oh, I must land it on 6 people. I must get the biggest grav ever. It's like, well, no, you don't. Sometimes you can just land it on 1 or 2. You can focus those people down, then you've got man advantage, and then you can kind of push forward from there. EMP is kind of the same thing. If you're EMPing a diva and maybe one other person, that's almost perfect because you can take them out very quickly and then dispatch with the rest of the team. It just didn't end up coming around, and Jinmu held on to it. We are going to go into ruins, though, and, well, would you look at that? Hex going to be a happy boy now. Happy is on the Winnipeg.
It's my boy. We'll see where he wants to roll out now, too, because they've got Eileen to do all the ground support here. And introduce himself. Oh,
that was perfectly timed. Unlucky.
Someone call PETA.
Oh, he looks so sad, too. It's actually really adorable when the hamster, when he sleeps. He looks like he's just taking such a peaceful nap, but
it looked like he'd just like eaten too much and was just like dreaming of wood chips.
It's like that ridiculously old meme, or it's not even a meme, it's a image like top text, bottom text with the, I think it's a possum in a donut box, and he's like,
oh yeah, I sent that to you.
That is really old, like super old. It's like, do what you will. I have already won or something.
Yep.
Oh, that's an old meme. Well, unfortunately, it doesn't like Char's having a couple of problems. Someone said sound earlier in the lobby, so potentially a headset problem. But regardless,
you know, I feel we're all in the same boat on that one. You know, I thought everything was fine. Apparently, I was muted. Who knows how that goes out? You know, I'll try to run everything through these odd circumstances. There's going to be a ghost in the machine here and there.
Yeah, I mean, you still sound like you're inside of a firework about to explode on my end, but that's okay. I can still kind of understand you. We're good. Sometimes
it's just my internal energy is just coming across so strong. That's why.
Oh my goodness. Well, you know, you change on a voice changer right now. If you're Mitch, you had that voice change, you change it on, sound yourself like a demon, it would be almost perfect, almost terrifying as well, mind you. Yeah. I'm lucky I don't have mine actually with me. It's kind of saddens me, but that's just how it is. Mitch is a bit of a joker.
Getting back into it.
Oh, we're back into game.
Perfect. Yeah, so this is a really cool composition, especially when you have control of the point, largely because Amon just kind of inted in right there. But now you've got the Torb set up and doing all the anti-dive techs, and Chengdu doesn't have a whole lot of options on when to go in. Leave trying to run an Echo into a Widow is a bold move.
Extremely bold. Happy almost has sights, mind you, as well. Doing so much damage already. Amon's going to try and find a kill on him. And that turret doing a fair bit of work as well. Almost checking Amon at times as well. Does let people know where he is. Jinmu hasn't got EMP just yet. He's looking for another sleep on the ball. He's going to be fine though. Just someone did wake him up. They didn't quite time that well enough. Rio ends up going down as well. Sights have been opened up for the charge too, but they have lost their main tank, which is going to be bad news for the time being. Leave is going to be able to take to the skies and hide around these pillars to avoid getting shot as they do try and contest and control the point. They're almost going to find the cap here, but little by little, the Charge are trickling onto the point to make sure that doesn't happen. Still gaining a lot of percent here, free 10% almost, as Ryan does end up coming back to the fray, as Leaf ends up going fairly low, but Rialto will be the first to fall. Molten Core's coming through, but he does get hacked. Only a small amount of the Molten Core landing on the point, but it might just be enough. And Anubis onto Krong as well, as he does tank most of those mines. They continue to hold. Hunters need to be able to push them off. Charge is stalling at this point for so long, regardless of them winning or losing the fight right now. Charge are making this worth it. And EMP is going to come out as well, as the tanks of the Charge are going to be able to hold on to their ults. Jinmu ends up falling down. Krong still sitting on the grab, as Leave is going to have the duplication online, as the Hunters now, once again, falling apart after what was almost a perfect EMP on both the tanks of the Charge.
It was such a great stall-out tactic, too. They were just holding ramp the entire time, and when it got a little bit close, someone would dip a toe in and someone would come back. Amon was actually trying to evict them from there, but they've done a really good job of shutting him down, largely with Chara on the Brigida. The bash comes in, and that makes a really easy sleep target, so Amon is just living in the crowd control hell right now.
I believe he's already dead. He didn't even use his ult. There's the rally to try and get back onto the point. Amon ends up going down after getting hacked and bio-grenaded. It's a bit unlucky, unfortunately. Happy just guarding the... Well, there it is. I was going to say guarding the flanks, but, you know, Charge just end up taking the W on that one. That was a very steamrolly Ilios. That is... Well, that map specifically, Ruins, like, that was steamrolly and a half. I mean, we did see a little bit more fight there from the Hunters on Lighthouse, but it was hesitation, I felt, was the main killer there for the Hunters.
Yeah, the Hunters were in control of Lighthouse the entire time for the most part. It should have been their map, and then they were unable to actually execute the coup de grace at the end and pull together a team fight. I think they really struggle to regain points based on the composition they have. They're looking for kills in the backline. They're trying to play this ball composition, which is their signature style. It's what got them a lot of fans, but it's not so good when the other team is entrenched on the point. They've got all the healers and everyone in position, because then if the ball tries to go in alone, they're just going to get stunned and slapped, which you saw several times. The EMP came out, but then Happy just plinks Jinmu, so there's no follow-up damage from him, and some of the tanks are all over the place. This Chengdu team can be really fun to watch, but also really frustrating to watch.
Absolutely. I mean, you were looking at what to do damage there. Echo to follow up, which would be perfect, right? If you could get your ultimate off, maybe change into the Reinhardt, get a few free swings and a shadow, but wasn't quite enough for the Hunters to actually seal even a stage on that first map. We're going to jump to a quick break, though, guys. Do not go anywhere. Can the Hunters come back? We'll have to wait and see.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Cheez-It Grooves. Deep flavor, deep crunch, it's a mind crunch. And by Zip Chair Gaming, the official chair supplier of the Overwatch League. Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
Charge versus the Hunters is the game currently on your screens. We did see Charge take Ilios 2-0 over the Hunters, and we said it just before we went into the break, Hex. Hesitation, kind of the big problem here, it feels like, with the Hunters currently. They had very good EMPs, and sometimes actually just not using them was more of the downfall, especially on the Lighthouse.
It was something I noticed years ago when I did the Chinese region tournament, OWPS, that we started kind of calling it like Chinese Overwatch, of like all these teams just, they don't finish fights. The fights keep going on too long, and it's just, you just got 2 kills, but somehow you're not finishing off the capture point, or you're not pushing forward, and it just gets a little sloppy. And sometimes as the match goes on, those kind of concepts even become more and more apparent. Now it seems like the Charge have it figured out on their end, but Chengdu, I think they're fine when they're in control and they're just hunting for kills, but when it comes to a coordinated assault effort, it has always been the bugaboo with this team. I remember casting them in Season 2 where they were pushing Volskaya last and they had an EMP and barrage. I'm like, oh, easy peasy, no problem. Then they didn't hit the EMP, then they barraged alone, and then the EMP came later, and it was like, oh, this is just how this team is running. And it's been a long time. You'd think they'd be able to fix that up. Maybe this next map will offer an opportunity for a little more coordinated teamwork.
You definitely hope so. This was one of the first debuts of Sombra, if I'm not mistaken, by NIP, I believe.
Well, ninjas in pajamas.
Ninjas in pajamas or Fnatic? It was one of those 2 teams. It was definitely on first point. I do remember Sombra being played, and it was a full hold as well. Sombra is kind of an insane hero, especially when she first came out, right? It happens with a lot of heroes. It's happening with Echo right now, right currently, where teams don't really understand, and like players in the community don't really understand how to fully utilize Sombra, you know, Doomfist, any new hero that comes out. And it can lead to either catastrophic games where you just lose because you don't understand the hero, or just mind melding with the hero and just destroying the enemy team before they can even, it feels like, do anything, right? And I think Echo is one of those heroes right now that it just feels very rolly. The teams that have figured out the hero could do so well with her. We aren't unfortunately seeing her now. I was really hoping we see a little bit of Echo here because you can hide around the high ground, but we are seeing Happy instead. Switching over to the creep. Eileen's going to be on the Torb. Oh no, Happy, okay, over to the Ashe instead.
Yeah, it makes a ton of sense. Not quite the Widow there. Yeah, no, just to wrap up that Echo point, I think she's either going to get figured out or the people who are playing her haven't even reached her apex yet. Ooh. So another couple of weeks and we'll figure out if Echo's truly busted or teams.
Oh no, I'm gonna tell you right now, she busted. Like, she's busted. She is very good. She's a good hero. Ult charge very quick, and me kill stuff. That is the very short version of that one. Leave is going pretty low. This is Charge making a very good entrance actually onto the high ground. Normally fairly tough against double shield, but Krong's doing a good job of keeping himself nice and healthy and charged up as well. She was going to fall though to Jinmu's stray grenades. You can see him just firing around from the back line. Chara's the only healer now for the Charge, and Brigitte, if she's not hitting things, isn't really much of a healer at all. Those armor packs don't really suffice for healing up the entire team. Riptide's going to be charged fairly early as well for Jinmu, only 30% away.
Even when you're playing at a top tier level as Brigitte, you're only healing about 40% of the time. That's usually the average Inspire uptime on some of these Brigittes. So you got to be in the fracas, in the fray and hitting whip shots and things to get that Inspire going. And if not, it's nothing.
Oh, this is perfect. You window the Torp turret, does so much damage. Unfortunately, Among standing in front of it with an Anubis and a shield. Krong ends up falling into a flame strike, but Happy at least gets a pick off here. Although the Riptire over the top. Yep, there goes Shu, and once again Charge are left in an awkward situation of just dying into this room and feeding their health bars over to the old banks of the Hunters, which is exactly what they've done.
And trying to push into this map just like you typically would is very difficult without a Mei, because this used to be the corner read to see the Battle of the Meis. Let's get a wall in, let's get some entrance, but now without it, they're just eating so much of this Junkrat. It's not spam, it's a tactical area denial, you know, just a tad bit of spam. And so they're trying to do the same strategy that they would if they had a Mei, but it's just not going to be enough. They're eating too much of it. And the idea is that Happy takes an off angle and gets picks in the back line just like that.
That's a perfect start. Although I'd still be scared, to be fair. Fire with a charge. They still have to run into Among Shatter, although Rio's got one of his own. There's the bomb. Knocking it really up high in the sky. There's the 180 Shatter. Hits 2 people down. There's the return Shatter, but he did get stunned. Didn't actually find anybody, but the damage has already been done. Ollie and Rialto end up going down. Charge now steamrolling their way onto the point, with Eileen picking up a nice couple of kills of his own. Dynamite to finish off. Oh, the hammer kill. Please give it to him. Oh, shoot. What have you done, Charge? You've ruined the entire game for yourself. You didn't give Eileen the hammer kill.
No, I think that was to boost Shu's morale because he had died twice early and one to the Junkrat tire, so you give him that kill, a little bit of the vengeance there. But that's Happy being able to open it up, and once you get on that platform, that's exactly what you're trying to take because you can get the turret set up there, then Happy can either stay on that platform or, as you saw, use the coach gun to get to an even higher angle. Did have to invest a lot there. They ended up using Bob into that fight. But they can come in with Amp. There's not much for Chengdu. The only thing that Guangzhou really has to dodge is a big tire hit.
You can force out stuff like Immortality so easily as well, mind you, with that Rip Tire. Or if you force it out earlier and then Rip Tire afterwards, it's almost perfect. Eileen gets a miracle pick on Rialto. Oh, the tire's just going to get taken out by Krong as well. And Jinbu's going to go down. Wow, Hunter's just kind of falling apart right at this point. Molten Core coming out onto the point as well. Leave ends up going down. That's a horrible corridor to be locked in with. Among's going pretty low. He is going to get nanoed, but can't really get much done as he's nowhere near the point. Doomfist in to try and stall, but instantly catches on fire as Eileen goes for the kill. He's got blood in his eyes. Oh my word. He's got the taste of blood in his, not in his eyes. What is that saying? He smells blood in the water and ends up finishing off the rest of Hunters.
Wait, what did you think it was? The taste of blood in his eyes?
Yeah, no. So I thought blood in the water.
We are no longer friends. I'm now afraid of you.
And I thought, no, something in his eyes, like maybe not blood though. That's pretty bad. Is that
got him in his sights? You know?
Yeah. Well, it didn't work. Okay. Well, let's move past it rather swiftly as Hunters do get swiftly taken out, and 2 minutes and 56 seconds on Charge's clock.
The Torb offensively, a lot of people just like, it's strange to people who don't play at the Overwatch League level, but it ends up doing so much, especially on these assault maps, because you're just taking a spot and then that Torb is getting everybody else. It's just the Bob you set down. So the first platform is really good, but also, especially on this map, I've seen it a couple of times here, that it just delays any sort of stall the other team's going to do, because the stall is you have one person out and they're kind of jumping around. The turret doesn't care that you're jumping around. It is locked on and it is in. And then when you have these godlike damage players who can just be pumping in the Rivet Gun and get an errant shot that takes out a support, that pretty much just wins you the fight entirely. So I really like the setup there on the offense from Guangzhou. It allows Eileen to make sure that he's always alive. He doesn't need all that healing because Overload is such a good ability. And then Happy on hit scan is exactly where you want him. So they're adjusting to this match without Nero. And I mean, maybe he wouldn't even have played this time because it looks like they have a really strong composition. Ashe has been played a lot lately. Ashe and Widow are really good, and that's right in Happy's wheelhouse.
I want to see more Happy on hit scan. Unfortunately, we're going to see Leave change over. He's going to go to the Kree instead. Looks like they were going to match the composition that Charge were running before and matching them right now as well. Apart from Chara, it's going to be on the Brig instead and Molly on the Ana. There's turret placement there, so when they do come in, they're going to take a fair bit of damage, but not anymore really, unless they went main. And that was all about the setup once again. You can't let Happy get too much damage off Hex, because like you said, that Bob can just do so much work. It's another target to take it down and prioritize. It's going to be painful.
The Bob knockup is really nice when you're able to get it done, because everyone's trying to sit behind shields. Bob just launches you in the air and just pulls, just shoot and play pigeons.
Oh my goodness, that fire grenade did so much work there. Rio going fairly low. Matati Field's going to save him for the time being. Dynamite was even bigger though from Happy. Everybody set ablaze. And the kill feed looking Charge right now. Happy now with Bob coming up fairly soon as well. Chara takes a couple of kills for himself also. Hunters are going to have a tough time now getting through this first point. You see Eileen there, was like, I'm getting a hammer kill. I will get a hammer kill this fight.
We saw some hammer kills early today. I mean, everyone really likes them. I don't know. I'm in the minority of like, yeah, it's kind of cool, but like, we don't need to make 5 threads about it, guys, for the hammer kill.
No, make more threads.
Yeah, we need 7. That's exactly what I was
Exactly. 1 for each hammer kill.
Well, they're going to have to deal with Bob again, too. And I wonder if Happy is sitting right across the bridge, so we can just send him straight across the bridge into the room. If Bob falls off this platform, he ends up being completely useless.
Among's no in the shadow either. Rio can now just walk forward with immunity. The turret's going to fall as well. Happy doing a whole bunch of work. There's Leave on the sideline, kind of just shooting away at the side of Rio and the rest of the charge. There's the window, though, you wanted to see. High Noon from the side, though, is going to get eaten up mostly by Krong there. Happy's Bob does end up falling. That's a big shadow in the front line as well. Jinmu takes down Rio. Eileen's now kind of alone with his turret, unfortunately. The nano boost onto Amon will send him forwards, and the rest of Hunters now can set up on this high ground for their DPS to do the damage that they need. Amon in a little bit of trouble. Well, they shouldn't be too much of an issue now, as they do have Jinmu now. It's just splattering the points with his Molten Core. Now it's going to be even harder for the Charge to come back into this, although I say that as Yveltal ends up going down to Happy.
They're making him use ults. Core is out. There's the flux that has to come onto the points, and it's still taking a long time. A shatter comes out. Doesn't even get anybody.
Beautiful block by Chara, just in time. It might not matter, though. He ends up going down. Did use the rally to kind of keep himself alive and well on the point. Fortunately, he didn't really get much else done. The Hunters eventually go for this cap here. It did take them 3 minutes or so, but Anubis is a rather treacherous first point to cap, especially going against the comp that Charge were bringing. They're not going to make any changes, it looks like, and Charge looking to set themselves up for success in this next fight there. We've got both the window and Molten Core coming up, and Happy's definitely going to have Bob as well.
Yeah, they've got everything they want to work with. Chengdu had to really overcommit there, and they just, because the fight was taking too long, so they just started smashing Q. They end up losing extremely valuable ults. Imagine trying to roll in here with like a Charge and a Molten Core. You'd feel way better than you do right now.
So, very aggro position there. I like the way Pachara's positioning around Happy. Just making sure he provides that small shield and the armor packs as well to make sure he doesn't get two tapped by Leave. Same kind of attack here for Hunters on the second. So move around to this point, and again, we are running into a Bob. A Molten Core is the worst position you to be in against this Molten Core. Deadeye comes out, doesn't find much, hits the shields at the end. Leave going fairly low. Does anybody spot him out? Yes, they do. Chara's going to chase him out, and Leave is 6 HP. Ends up getting taken out. And now if you're Hunters, you don't really want to use much else. They use a nano onto Amon, but he gets focused down almost instantly. And Molten Core burning through his health bar and burning through the rest of Hunters. Looking rather char-grilled as they do end up falling back, as the Charge are going to defend for the time being and have got another beautiful set of ults coming online, but Hunters, they're going to match them there.
Yeah, maybe a small overcommitment from Guangzhou there. The fight kind of started to feel over, and they committed Molten Core and the Bob. I actually don't care much about the Bob because Happy's putting in so much damage that I almost assume he'll get one during the next fight. But now Chengdu has the Molten Core advantage, and without a Blizzard, which is one of the best ultimates in the game to be able to take these assault maps, Molten Core, you know, its polar opposite really, is just as good, covering a large area and being able to fight on it. So they really just want to set up Jinmu for success here, and if they get stuck anywhere, Elsa can open it up with a Flux. So the Hunters are in a decent spot to put some progress on this point.
I wonder what Rio is doing there, kind of like high roped them. Essentially he was going for a shadow, but that would have been a little bit too risky, I feel. Rather aggressive push now. There you go. Instantly sends everybody up to the skies. Molly hasn't got Transcendence, but they are around this corner. Immortality Field has been used by the Charge, and they can kind of play a little bit more safe as the rally is going off as well. They're going to be so strong coming into this next fight. Although Window's going to come through, that shadow does hit the shield, so no one falls down just yet. Hunters now making their way onto the point, still with that Molten Core in their back pocket. Leave shooting through the window. Isn't going to be able to find too much here as the Charge do skirt around it and manage to kind of negate its effects. Now a beautiful flashbang on the side, but Leave once again found himself in a rock, between a rock and a brig, which is the worst place that you want to be. The Molten Core from high in the sky from Jinmu. No hammer kill just yet for Eileen as Krong and Happy end up clearing up the fight.
Leave, as you know, I feel like Caster cursed him just in the pregame. I talked him up so big time about how he was getting stuff done, but if you rewound his last 2 lives, I dare you to tell the difference. Because he goes in, doesn't get anything done, he's flashing shields, he tried to dead-eye the shields before, and then he finds himself back into that cove, and then, you know, all of a sudden, you know, in the, it's not a cove obviously, but all of a sudden, there's a Brigitte there. Twice in a row, and he just gets rocked, and out of it, he has gotten so little done. He's got 2 eliminations, 0 final blows. He's playing McCree.
DPS, please. I have gold damage. Why you no have gold damage? Huh? Answer me that. Ponder me this. 30 seconds now remains for the Hunters. They need to cap, and I don't think they're going to be able to now with the souls that are coming out. They're looking at best right now a draw scenario on Anubis. Charge once again have the Molten Core available. There's the Windows double window.
Deadeye goes through, eaten up mainly by Krong yet again. He lifts everybody up in the skies, but the Transcendence is going to save the Hunters for the time. Molten Core now coming out, flowing onto the point. Eileen making sure it's a very, very hard work to actually stick anywhere. Amon kind of dancing around, actually gets booted back in to the Molten Core with that shield going down. The hammer comes down straight on top of the Hunters. Eileen maybe finding his hammer kill. Rialto ain't giving it up too quick though, as the Charge end up taking Anubis and 2-0 in the series.
Rather simple 2-0 for them, and it seemed like Chengdu was unable to adapt to any sort of strategies. They tried the same thing over and over again on second point. And look, I get it, man. It's Anubis, and it's like, well, there's no good way to try to approach this. But the ultimates that they had to spend on first are ultimates that they didn't have on the second. And it's always my fervent belief that the first push that you have on second point is your best push on second point because you just want to fight. You should have ultimate advantage. And I think that Chengdu is just not confident of when they've won a fight, when it's over. And you saw 3 ultimates used to capture our first point that was very likely already captured for them. Then they have to go back and rebuild ultimates. The ultimates aren't looking great. Leave got almost 0 value out of that McCree. Deadeye's a couple times, they try to set him up with windows and shields and everything, but a really decent disengage from Guangzhou, and Chengdu just gets nothing done on the verge of getting swept here.
And you can see why Charge are currently 3-0 in the standings going into the tournament next week. They are looking so crispy clean, even without Nero as well. You can see how much this team has been practicing. We're going to jump to a quick break, guys. We'll see if the Hunters can come back in the series. Do not go anywhere. You're not going to want to miss it.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile. Rank up with America's largest 5G network. Switch to T-Mobile today. And by State Farm. For auto, home, or renters insurance, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Welcome back. This is your game break presented by Pringles Wavy. And Hex, well, what is happening right now? Hunters are currently 2-0 down in the series against a Charge that just look so dominant over the last couple of weeks. I want to know what's going on.
Well, I mean, the Charge obviously look very good, and Happy's just, living up to his name. No one's really pressuring on the back line. He's just throwing dynamite and then also just sending in Bob to do the dirty work at the end. On the other side of things, Chengdu, I think they know where their carry is, where the potential is, and that is in Leave. You saw all the resources they were devoting to Leave. He had a great performance in the series about 24 hours ago, and he absolutely dominated. He's capable of it. They're expecting him to do it, but it is time to step up Leave, because that Anubis was, well, I mean, we talked during the break. That was a 5v6. That felt like a 5v6.
It did. And like you said, they were setting him up. with windows, with shields, and just trying to set up for this perfect Deadeye. It just feels like Charge are just too... it's going to sound really silly, but like too coordinated. Do you know what I mean? They know exactly what to do in every single scenario. Deadeye comes out with the window, back off instantly. Like, they are on the same page 100% of the time. It feels like a brand new Charge almost, considering their early in the season performances where they weren't really looking that hot. But now it's brand new. I mean, now it is crunch time, Hex. What is the one thing they need to step up on? We already talked on Leave. Hunters need to step up big to win the next 3 maps to take the series.
I think it does just come down to coordination, and I get it on that point of Anubis, too, because you're going in and there's a turret in one spot, and that's just too hard for the McCree to get to. Happy's sitting in the corner, and he's playing very passively. Like, if Tracer was in the pool, I guarantee you would have seen, like, someone go try to deal with Happy in the back line. An Echo, or again, but like the McCree wasn't working. There were a couple lives where he didn't even get like shots off, or he'd get the Deadeye off there towards the end. But they need to realize that Guangzhou is probably going to try to run a variation of this Torbjorn and Ashe, and someone has to go shoot Happy because he's just living the life. He's got the healing that he needs whenever, but like you have to really commit on dealing with Happy, whether that's a damage player, whether that's one of your tanks going to a dive variation, because when they tried to run standard Rhine and just set up Leave, it was so telegraphed. Guangzhou knew it was happening right away. They know they're rotating right side, and then they just use the architecture to hide, so they got nothing done. So overall, as a team, you need adaptation and some sort of killer instinct, because right now, this Chengdu Hunters does not look like the team that beat Seoul last night.
Definitely not, and playing around Leave, like you said, maybe you just need to put more resources into him to make sure he can kind of take down Happer and even can
How many
contend.
more resources?
I know.
I drill in Alaska and give it all the Leave? Like, what more do you want?
I've been in that position, man. Trust me. Like, the DPS is screaming, pocket me, and I'm like, I'm pocketing you. I'm not going to nano you. I'm not going to nade you once more because you've got nothing done. But the containment, they need to put a containment facility. They need to build a house around Happy and make sure he is just in that house. Do not leave. Just stamp, I don't know, chain the door handle to the wall. I don't know. Just make sure he can't do anything. Put Among straight on top of him 24/7. That's kind of what worked out on Lighthouse, to be fair. We saw Happy playing super aggro, and then we saw Among roll on top of him to start off with, because it was like, whoa, the rest of your team is not there, right? I can just pin you in this corner, and there's nothing you can do about it, because you're Ashe. You've only got 1 movement mobility, and it's on a fairly decent cooldown, so you can't do much. I'm Wrecking Ball. Feels like they need to do that a little bit more.
Guangzhou has adjusted to that, though, too, because now they kind of always have a babysitter with him. Like, it's kind of weird that he's always with his Brigitte, so you can't really dive him with that traditional dive. Maybe just go, like, full-on dive. You run, like, a Winston and a Diva and just go towards him so that he can't get all the damage on you while you're on the entry. Something along those lines. But Guangzhou made that really early correction. The only time Chengdu looked competitive in this game was the first 60% of the first stage of Ilios. And then Guangzhou was like, oh, yeah, we'll just put a guy with our guy, and we trust him to click heads. And, yeah, sometimes it just is that simple of one of the damage dealer is hitting the shots and getting the angles, and the other is not. And even on the offense, Happy was able to take off angles and get the better of Leave several times.
Put someone else with Happy and it's basically immortal. I mean, it spoke for itself, really. You put the Brig with him, it's an easy game. Hunters need to come back in this series. They need to win 3 maps in a row to take it. Charge looking dominant as ever. Now we're going to jump to a quick break, guys. Do not go anywhere. Map number 3 on your screen soon.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Pringles Wavy. Big crunch, big flavor. The Overwatch League is brought to you by HyperX. Unleash your style, unleash your fury with HyperX Fury Memory. And by Coca-Cola, the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
What's up, guys? Welcome back. We are about to jump into our third map of Charge, facing up against the Hunters. And we spoke a little bit before the break about the kind of success that Charge are currently finding and have been finding over the last couple of weeks. And one of those people that's been attributing to a lot of that success has been Happy, but his support line has been looking rather good in the backline too. I mean, that's something I touched on actually in the start of today, was the fact that if you have a solid backline and the backbone of your team, something like the LA Gladiators is a very good example of this, with Big Goose and Shaz, who are ridiculously reliable, are just a support duo that have been together for such a long time at this point that you can always rely on them. Charge are looking like the same thing currently with their backline as well.
It might not be the best day to be using the Gladiators as an example, but I see your point. I see exactly what you're driving at here. But yeah, and especially when we're in this era of hero pools, and you have to have an extremely flexible backline. They have to be able to play everything. You can't just be a Lucio or just an Ana, which are probably Chara and Shu's best heroes, but you've got to have the BAP, you've got to have a whole lot of things in your kit. You got to be able to successfully pick up a Brigitte, because she's been a great utility when she's in the pool as well. And yeah, they're just really sound, really solid. The front line, we haven't said much about them, but there's no real reason to. It's just been the Eileen and Happy show, and when your damage dealers are going off like that, damage dealers, you got real Midwestern there. When your damage dealers are going off like that, it's just indicative that the rest of your team is doing their job and creating enough space. Krong has always been there too. We are going to head to Gibraltar here. Now, this map has always been very good for Widow duels and things of that like, so we'll see what the offense comes out for the Guangzhou Charge, as we've mentioned innumerable times about how Happy is a hit scan ace and god. The Chengdu Hunters need to find something here to pick themselves up, maybe just full-on commit to dive, even on the defense, and it seems like that looks like the composition they want to run.
This seems like the bread and butter. If you put a composition on the Hunters and said, this is the comp that they're going to be good at, this is something that I'd think about, right? You have Amon on the ball, Elsa on the D.Va, and then some sort of dive DPS to kind of back them up. I would be rather scared though. Yeah, Charge, I was hoping to hog there to try and find something rather cheeky to start off with. Happy is actually going to match Hunters. In fact, both their DPS line. DPS are going to actually match them. Jimu and Leave on the Sombra and Echo mirroring. Krong is going to change it over from the Hog, just wanted to find something rather cheeky to start off with, didn't find all too much. And you've got to expect it as well, really. And we saw Amon going rather aggressive fairly early on last time around. He's going to get naded, but those overshields doing a whole bunch of work. And now, this is where the problem stems. Can Hunters really hold on to this high ground with all this damage incoming? He just surfed on his head.
Running through people to get the translocate.
It's not bad at all. Can they actually hunt down somebody? Oh, no, in fact, Jimu ended up hunting down Shu instead. Good start for the Hunters on this map. Not bad at all.
Now, it looks good for Hunters, and this is actually a little bit worrisome for Charge because they are trying to mirror. Happy, you know, we talk about what he is really good at, but if you were going to run both an Echo and a Sombra, yeah, I don't think Happy would really be your top choice on this squad to run either of those. You would like two Eileens in this situation to be running Sombra and Echo. Unfortunately, you don't have two of them. See if Happy can surprise me on the Sombra, but it's not necessarily known as his signature hero for sure.
If only we could have two of a single player on a team, that would be a little bit ridiculous. Imagine we have two Jonax with two Zeds. See, that would be insane. No one would ever live to tell the tale. Shu has got Nano Boost. Rather treacherous map for Ana, mind you. I always feel fairly vulnerable when I'm on this kind of platform. With someone like this jumping in the back line. Leave is going to transform into the monkey, instantly get he was sub 100 HP there, but did manage to get the Primal Rage off in time. Chara ends up going down, now Lee paying attention to the back line. He's going to get hacked, but should be able to get the kill onto Shu. Work and damage has already been done. A nice little hack onto Eileen as well. He did transform back into the Echoes. The hack ended up wearing off, but Hunter's not doing a bad job at defending already. Half the time back now of Charge disappearing.
Yeah, the only downside of that, though, is Leave really went super deep on that Primal Rage and then transforms back into the Echo and ends up getting cleaned up there. But I do like that the Hunters are being aggressive with it. That wasn't a passive play at all. Big EMP.
What a beautiful EMP. Counter EMP, though. 6 members hacked
of the Charge. Who can kill the backline first? That is the question. Rialto is still alive. Shu and Chara have now got Rally at their backs as well, so they're going to be able to see themselves through this fight, you can imagine. Diva onto the sidelines, Jinmu paying attention to him, but they are going to be able to claim the high ground. That's what's important, especially if you have that Ana on the composition like Charge do right now. You can see Chara and Shu doing a good job of securing the high ground, making sure their tanks are kept alive. Counter EMP worked out for the Charge, but Hunters still have a fight to go.
Now Charge are in a pretty solid spot here with 2 tank ultimates as well to be able to launch into this one, and they're gaining up on the duplicate as well. Rio taking top ground here, but it's only a minute left. If Chengdu can pull off another fight, they very well may just stop the payload right here.
Jinmu was so low. There's the beam coming out from Leave. Didn't really expect that Primal Rage. Is going to be able to dodge around Rio, but he's not his target. Rio's trying to force something out of the back line, and he did just that. Transcendence used from Molly, as well as that Rally now building up for the Hunters. Leave jumping over to the Winston, changing up to jump onto the back line, but a perfectly timed Nano Boost and a nade onto Chara keeps him alive. Leave not doing all too much here. A translocator out for the Sombra as he gets the Primal Rage off, but can he secure any kills? That is the question. Luckily enough, Hunters do manage to secure the kill onto Chara as Jinmu manages to snipe him out on the back line, but now have to deal with a double Diva on the field. But Rio going down does mean Charge now have to back off. 20 seconds remains as this looks like a brand new Hunters coming into this third map.
Yeah, Hunters have decided they're not a defensive team, and they realize who they are. They play offense no matter if they're on defense, if it's assault, if it's control, it doesn't matter. They play offense, take the fight to them, sow chaos all over the map, and Happy just now has a second EMP. He needed it in the last fight. See if they can even touch. Happy is milling about the cart there. They get in.
My word, that was so close, but Rio is already down. Happy needs to hit that Q button fast. OT is still there. He manages to get on, but the mines are going to take him out. The EMP gets nobody, but it might not even matter. Eileen Happy dead. Shu's going to match them in the afterlife. And OT is going to tick on through with Amon picking up a triple at the end with the mines. Charge are going to get held on first point. Hunters looking oh so clean. Hex on that defense. And like you said, defense sometimes don't work out. So guess what you do? You just go full offense, jump in the backline time and time again, take out the supports, and then you collect that dub.
Yeah, you could see it really early from Leave. Every time Duplicate came on, like there wasn't really a fight happening when that very first Winston came online with the Duplicate. And he just took the fight to him. He's like, I have it, I'm going to go, I'm hitting a lot of these shots, goes in, ends up sowing Discord in their backline, dies from it, but it's way too long for Guangzhou to get back into the fight. And then just every time, they just took the fight directly to Guangzhou. They weren't waiting to be reactive. The reactive EMP was the exception of that. But as much as I stan Happy, the moment I saw him on the Sombra, I knew Guangzhou was going to struggle on this map. I don't think they should be picking it. I think that they're being forced into a mirror right here, but it didn't get a whole lot done. He needed the EMP about 10% faster in the penultimate fight because then they would have had a self-destruct. They had a second Diva also in the duplicate form, so if you can get an EMP in and launch in 2 self-destructs, you're in a good spot. But Happy unable to get there, unable to get the Sombra play in. And now Guangzhou has to hold as far forward as humanly possible. Otherwise, we're going to go to a map 4.
Well, if there's any map to do it on, it will be this map to hold on first. Can be a rather frustrating map to play, especially if you're on the offense, mind you. If the cart is near the first point, it is shorter for the defense to get back in time. So something to keep in mind. Double sniper. Nope. Changing over. Lever's going to change from the Widow. Echo, of course. Just do what works. That's going to be the motto. And I love Charge's adaptation here. They are switching off the Ana, going back on to the Zen. Just insta-kill one target who's been... oh, Lever's actually changing. Maybe McCree? No, Soldier.
No, Leave loves legs.
Okay,
Leave loves legs.
Locking legs.
Seems, yep. Anyone else, it would be surprising, but it's like, no, that's just his favorite hero.
No, he just loves legs.
No, it is. And like Chengdu's kind of the organization that'd be like, okay, dude, play it then. Have a good time.
Yeah. Legs is pretty fun to play. I will say that. The mobility, just getting around the place. Amon a little less mobile right now as he is hacked, but he's going to be able to escape the rest of his team already. I mean, Charge have let go of the payload. Hunters are now in one-fight territory, and Charge already haven't done much. Eileen and Happy are going pretty low. Same with Rio. Eileen's not receiving much healing as well. It seems like the Charge right now are just kind of bleeding out. Hunters are just doing so much poke damage at this point with Leave on the sidelines. And Grong and Rio, they're already dead. Your 2 tank players. Not... Oh, and they're... Okay, well, there you go. Well, they didn't even touch. That was a roll in the opposite direction, it feels like. The Charge had some pretty good first maps in this series, but Hunters come back with vengeance.
That's what I call a roller skates defense. They just keep getting pushed back and pushed back and pushed back, and they never push forward. Everyone's getting low. No one ever feels like the chance to fight. Fight didn't even really happen there. That was just Chengdu taking the point because Guangzhou was taking a lot of chip damage. Everyone's waiting for heals. No one ever feels comfortable to engage or go in. No one ever makes the call to engage or go in, and they were just getting pushed back on their skates all the way back, and that was the least eventful Gibraltar I've ever casted.
Yeah, I don't know what to say. That was it. That was they just kind of roll the payload in, like you said.
Yeah, I think it was they must have scrimmed that a lot and been like, oh, this is the composition you run on Gibraltar. Obviously, you run the Echo and the Sombra. We'll just do that. But I don't think it suits their strengths at all, especially with the limited damage dealers that they have available to suit up this week. I don't think Happy's a good Sombra. I've seen very little of it, but I remember seeing a little bit last year, and Eileen would be the Sombra you want to play, but I guess Happy is, he's hit scan and Echo's projectile, and you want to run them both, so I think like they just kind of tried to put a square peg in a round hole there, and it obviously did not work out. If you're the Charge, you just kind of forget about Gibraltar, and you just move on. That didn't happen. Forget about it. Move on.
Yeah, move on to the next map, and that's exactly where we're going to go. Map number 4 coming up soon, guys. Don't go anywhere. We're going to jump to a quick break.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile. Rank up with America's largest 5G network. Switch to T-Mobile today. And by State Farm. For auto, home, or renters insurance. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
And yes, I'm on mute. My goodness. Well, I said all that wisdom stuff. Well, what I was saying, anyway, was I think that was the quickest Gibraltar I've ever seen. That was
See, I think
absurd.
I have to remind you that because I always have to say out loud to myself, and when we're in TeamSpeak, I'm like, unmuting now, right? And
Yeah.
I didn't that time. I just hit the button.
Yeah.
So that's kind of on me as your steward in this situation of like, hey, I'm unmuting now, so I'm not going to talk.
This is my steward.
Anyway, yeah, there's not a ton to say about Gibraltar. We're just trying to figure out how the Sombra, Happy Sombra died to the mines there, and we're thinking like the translocate must have gone in, and then he's trying to hit the EMP so you can dislocate the bombs and all that, try to get in. Obviously, it wasn't a good situation anyway. He should have had it in the fight prior, in my opinion. But also, we're kind of maybe thinking like, oh, with the online play, sometimes you're used to this 5 millisecond ping, and that play comes off, and you get it done better because your input is there. And then even something like 25 to 30 ping, you know, it gets a little bit dodgy at times. It's not acting the way that you want it to be. But it shouldn't have come down to that. It shouldn't. Chengdu Hunters played the style that they always play of we're just going to brawl, and you have to deal with it. Chengdu Hunters should not be a reactionary team. They should not be waiting for teams to come in. They should not be catching dives. They should be diving. They should be going after it. They are the ones who create the chaos, and it's up to you to deal with it. And that was kind of the style that we saw on their defense, actually, in particular. Their offense, like, there's nothing to say about that. Chengdu they might as well have just been firing blanks. They did nothing. But, yeah, their defense was, let's just go fight. Let's fight. That's what we're good at. We're good at throwing curveballs at teams and seeing if they can hit them. And Guangzhou right there needs to go right back to the batting cages.
Yeah, it was kind of funny, actually, because you did see two very different teams just play. Of course, that is a rather obvious statement, but the two different play styles were very different, right? Like you just said, Hunters, they like to play aggressive, so they took fights on the first corner. Charge were like, okay, so we're going to wait. And it's like, well, you mirrored what the Hunters were doing previous attack, man, like, or previous defense for the Hunters, and it's just, you can't do that. Like, you saw the way the Hunters were playing, and that's how you find success with that comp. Let's talk about this game, though. We are jumping on to Hollywood. Hex, one of my favorite maps. Hunters are on the offense. Does look like they're going to go with the same sort of thing. Can't imagine else is going to stay on the Reinhardt, but we'll have to wait and see, of course. Just go aggro. This is what we want to see from the Hunters, man. They were rather hesitant with the Sombra, but it looked like they got in their groove a little bit in that previous map.
Yeah, we'll see what they end up on. Yeah, I think Chengdu wants to run this offense with the Echo and the Sombra, and Guangzhou is right back in their wheelhouse because Happy is going to be able to play the Ashe on this map. I'm not a fan of his Sombra. He doesn't play it a lot. I'm not a fan of most of his heroes that are not McCree, Tracer, Widow, or Ashe. I think that is where he excels, and he does it well enough that you don't even really care. You just put him on those heroes and let him go on it. So he's going to be in the nice spot that you have for Ashe right in the cafe. Used to be a Soldier 76 spot, but Ashe just a little more utility. And it seems like Chengdu's trying to set up a dive, but been spotted out.
Oh, yeah, you see. Discord Orb was applied to the Echo. Oh, Among slept. He's fine, though. He has got overshields, plus the fire grenade. It's going to help him out for a little while. Hack onto Among, I believe, and to Krong. Well, he ends up going down to Krong, though. That's a bad start for the Hunters. These comps, especially with the healers that they are currently running. Oh, that was a beautiful sphere there to kill off Leave. Especially with the comp that Hunters is running, there's not a lot of healing there at all, really. You've got Brig, who wants to be in combat to heal. The armor packs don't really sustain a whole team. Orb does 30 HPS, so it's not a whole bunch. You want to take these fights thick and fast and rely on the Discord Orb damage and the armor packs to see you through.
You'd have to assume this is just all about the dive because there's just not enough healing. But if you toss an orb and an armor pack on Amon, for instance, and let the other tanks go in, and then maybe the Sombra pops into the back lines, that's exactly what it's meant to do. But it's not enough healing for a true brawl up front.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what I'm looking at now, right? Is to see where that Discord Orb is applied, where the hacks are applied as well. Rialto's on the side, and it just gets demolished by Eileen. Kind of a two-pronged attack there, as Happy was up at the high ground in the cafe, and then Eileen was actually bottom left. So people that were trying to get on top of the cafe were just either met with dynamite and bullets, or a laser beam, just killing them off from the side.
Yeah, I think Jinmu was way behind them. I thought that's where he translocated on the top of one of the hotels. Happy's going to get another pick here. I think this is on Molly. Molly just peeking that corner. Happy's been spamming that corner, so not the greatest idea.
Oh,
and then
clean.
Echo against long-range hit scan. Please switch. Please switch.
They've got to switch fairly soon if they want to do that. Although Leave does almost have his ult. There comes Bob on the point. Jinmu ends up going down. Again, he was just flying through the air, mind you. I don't know where he was coming from. Maybe from the high ground. Dynamite in the back line. Happy will have another Bob by the end of this, it feels like. He's earning so much ult charge already. He's trying to scout out behind him, potentially suspecting Leave is there, but...
Well, Jinmu's been back there most of the time. I think he might still be back there. This is the one thing I wish I had at home was an overhead map view.
There he is.
I truly miss it.
There he is. I see him on the point. He has EMP.
Yeah, it's EMP and
He's
everything. This is a fight.
They got off! 4 people. EMP'd. Krong goes down. No ultimate ability available. Eileen's going to go pretty low as well. Whoops, daisy. That actually could cost him a little bit, although 4 seconds shouldn't be too bad. He can go into stealth as well. That's exactly what he's doing. Now he's just looking for the big hack. Brigitte has been copied. Rally as well. Transcendence 2 match for the Hunters. They still need to end this fight fast. A beautiful bar grenade onto Leave to take him out. Hammer down on the point, instantly killing off Yveltal. Couldn't even get the rally off.
Self-destruct in the cafe, and now Chengdu Hunters, regardless of how many ticks they have, they've only got 30 seconds remaining. They've required 2, but Charge are going to regain control of this point and kill off Jinmu the last couple of seconds as well. They're not going to be able to group as 6x to finally fight this last point. Among's going to be able to get back in time, but that's really going to be about it.
No, I kind of want to take a look at Krong here and see if he just tries to flux them before they can even get in. You just cut off the doorway to start lifting up right now. That way they can't go in, and maybe some of them get in, but not in full fighting force.
Doomfist, Jinmu's going to get to the back line, someone starts to touch. They managed to get on just in time as Lee does have his ult. They're going to change it over to the Reinhardt as he's almost got that shatter already. Rio now holding shield firm. He knows he's got it. The shatter hits the ground, the pin as well. Instantly killing off Rio as the Discord orb was applied to him almost instantly. He's got another shatter at hand as well. Couldn't quite get it off, but the damage has already been done by Lee in the back line. Jinmu as well, jumping on in, killing off Eileen, and Hunters eventually break this first point hold and manage to cap the points.
A lot of that ended up being because it was a very piecemeal push. They were able to get a tick here and a tick there, and by that time, Guangzhou was unable to retreat because the fight before that where they got EMP'd, an excellent disengagement from Guangzhou. They just completely backed out of the cafe into the beginning of the Westworld stage here, and then they were able to re-engage and come back. But now with only 33% to go, they're unable to really disengage from that. They had to push bodies on the point, end up getting cleaned up there. 2 minutes on the clock now for the Hunters to make progress here in Hollywood.
Uh-oh, Among's hacked. Yep, bye-bye. Like I said before, one thing this comp doesn't really do well is heal very quickly. Akata is still making a good bit of progress, though, mind you. Eileen has switched over to the Sombra. Got to be careful, though. You've got Eileen at this point. Lee can blow you up rather quickly. Same with Among. It's going to be kind of a big thing here with the Sombra v Sombra duel. If Jimmy manages to find a translocator, you can instantly kill that Sombra with without hesitation.
Mines rain on the rooftops, but no one's up there. I guess no one's going to go up there now.
Now they're gone.
Well, good, because you have to kill them, otherwise they stay in the game permanently, it feels like.
Yeah, oh, 100%. Uh-oh, and a boost, and Molly's dead. Jinmu is going to fall as well. Now 60 seconds does remain for the Hunters again, almost in final fight territory, especially for this phase of the map. Once more, Hollywood. Rather interesting when it comes to spawn positions. Both teams rather equaling currently, but in fact, and actually, take that back, actually, where the cart is currently positioned, I would say that Charge actually have the advantage in terms of spawns. A bit more cover as well. As,
well, they have EMP, yeah.
Yeah, EMP and Bob is available, so this is...
Even in their victory over Seoul yesterday, one of the big things that stood out to me was that Jinmu dies way too often as Sombra. He was getting picked off first in a lot of fights, and that it costs you in so many ways, not just because you're not out there doing damage or getting hacks, but look how far behind he is on EMP.
Amon's going to go up to the high ground. You've got to be rather careful, though. There's attacks can come through any moment. There's the EMP, lands on Among and Jinmu. Kill Jinmu, and it might just be a W. There it is. He finally manages to go down. A big fire grenade in the back line as well. Not enough, though, to save Shu's life. A Transcendence is saving for himself from the self-destruct. Char ends up falling to it. Hunters will still kills on the board, but the spawn advantage still lying in the Charge's favor. Lee manages to find 2, but gets taken out by Eileen. Still, the payload is in contestation as Eileen is still alive. Jimmy's going to be able to get back in time and potentially earning himself an EMP, but they're going to have to get out of the way from the self-destruct for the time being. Among is back as well with a mines on point 2, making it even harder for the Charge to actually contest this point. They're doing a whole bunch of damage, but the Charge refusing to give this fight up just yet. Eileen with another EMP is available, instantly letting it go. 4-member sack, a counter EMP comes in. It's the Charge for the Hunters. This is a time, for Hunters to charge onto the backline. However, that rally going off as well as that nano boost from the Charge make sure they are not going down quickly. Overtime ticks through, and Hunters, just before second point, get held.
I think the mark of a good team is a team that has both offense and defensive capabilities, because I've been very impressed with Guangzhou in their disengages. And sometimes, yeah, you're going to lose a fight when you have to disengage and the other team has 5 ultimates. It's just the way Overwatch goes. But they're disengaged from that final point with just Eileen kind of poking around. It just buys enough time, whereas he's kind of still stalling out the cart. They can't kill him. He's popping in and out of that doorway to put a body out there. And it buys enough time with your defensive team who has the spawn advantage. You're spawning right there, and you're spawning on first point if you're the attacker. So Guangzhou backs up. They get both tanks out, and they don't even engage when they get both tanks out. They just wait. Why? There's no reason for us to push. It's not our cart to push. It's our cart to put bodies on. They get both tanks out there, and then eventually the EMPs come off. And even if they were trading there in the EMP battle, which didn't happen to be the case, it's Guangzhou's fight to lose because they're coming out that door way quicker.
was almost a perfect counter EMP, I must say, though. Coming out from
it was nice going.
It missed the one person you really need to hit and then instantly take down, which was Chara, who was on the brig. He had to rally, and you rally up. Shu managed to get the nano off as well, and as soon as you miss the supports, especially when they have those key ultimates in those last final seconds, you lose, especially with the armor. Like, as soon as that armor starts stacking up, it becomes so difficult for people like Among and even Elsa to take people down. They haven't really got the high impact damage that you'd like from something like a DPS, of course.
In a long enough timeline on that poke war on defense, Guangzhou's going to win. They just have a better healing line for it. And if they don't allow the Brigitte to engage, then she's never getting healing. And they've got just better heals going for that squad there. Now only 330 here on the pushes. That's about 3 pushes on offense. They tend to go very, very quickly if you can't find the right way in. But Chengdu is being super aggro here. I like it.
What they do best is what basically won them the map of Gibraltar. Although now they're playing a little bit more passive. Essentially waiting for Jinmu to set up. He was in the back line a second ago, looking for a hack. Now he's in the front line. Monkey just completely ignored him. Yeah, Rio doesn't really want to take this fight. Look at the ult charge Jinmu is farming right now. And he has a translocator to back off to as well. Aggressive translocator positioning, but he's going to be okay. Almost at this EMP though. Eileen is almost matching him though, Hex.
Yeah, Jinmu dies too much because of his translocating position, though. I mean, that's why you often see him fall in positions you're like, what happened there? But it is the risk-reward, because now he's definitely way ahead in the EMP advantage. And I think Guangzhou should just play the poke game here, just kind of sit it out. Maybe not anymore. They got aim on.
Yeah, so it was perfect. Molly gets discorded as well. He's in the back taking a whole bunch of damage. Eileen can now basically free farm off the leave as well. EMP does come out, but instantly Jinmu goes down. Not much follow-up available for the Hunters. Leave does jump in eventually with the Winston, but issue is now he just gets focused out. He's going to be able to get back up into the skies, but your one big engagement tool is now gone. You haven't got your ult, you haven't got EMP, and now you're going to get EMP'd yourself. Molly, luckily enough, though, has the Transcendence to see them through the fight, but now they have to deal with a Bob. So many tools are being thrown into the Hunters. It's almost impossible, it feels like, to actually get onto the point, but they somehow manage to do it anyway. Leave with a single beam, takes out both Happy and Chara. Shu also falls. Chengdu, somehow, a Chengdu in charge, something dirty. They're going to push them off the point, and now Hunters in a fantastic position to hold once again.
Yeah, Guangzhou had to commit so much to that as well. Eileen now with no ultimate. The Bob, again, it's not the biggest value ultimate at the level, but Chengdu were in a really tough spot because Leave had gotten pushed out of the fight, and now Leave out of the fight completely. Eileen is messing with this Echo.
Come on. Among so low. Almost managed to get the hack off there as well. He's going to be able to roll away quick enough, but now Among not in the fight. Same kind of story as what happened last time around, but this time Eileen's the one building EMP a little bit quicker. He's going to have it online rather sharply as Elsa just gives up so much of his health bar to it. The mine's ending up killing off Krong as well. The Guangzhou Charge having such a rough time trying getting on this point. Leave EMP'd, doesn't care, Hex, just hit Shu in the face, Happy as well. A double kill for the Echo. That is going to be his ultimate online for this next push. The Charge crumbling on this first point. They only have 60 seconds now remaining.
Yeah, and Leave is always taking the perfect times to re-enter. He's getting pushed out a lot of the time by Eileen, but he's waiting it, buying it out, and he is coming clutch with the balanced beam with a couple kills the last couple of fights here. And now Guangzhou is up against it. They're going to need an individual play. Maybe the supports can get there, but Chengdu in a huge position. EMP, duplicate ready, and a Transcendence too. This is Chengdu's on paper.
Oh, hands down. EMP's going to come out. Another perfect one landing. This is a different Jinmu we are seeing right now. Sombra looking also clean, and now the Charge with Happy down have to push on to the point. Krong is also going to fall. Leave using his Scarab gun to force people away. The Hunters on the defense are looking so crispy clean. They have managed to let go 33%, but it might not matter. One person from the Charge needs to touch. They've got one ult to do it with, maybe two as the rally comes online fairly soon. The self-destruct is launched in, doesn't find anybody as the Charge make one last-ditch attempt to get onto this point. A Transcendence from Molly to see them through the fight though, as Leave transforms into the monkey, finds himself in the back line hacked, but he's just pushing people away, doing his job.
into the mines even as well, as Molly takes out Krong. Is it going to be enough? I'm not sure it is from the charge. Eileen's going to get hacked on the side as well, but the Transcendence coming in from Shu. How are they still managing to keep themselves in this fight? I do not know. Amon is going to be able to get back out of the fight, make sure he can test the point for as long as possible. With Leaf going down, this is disastrous though for the Hunters. Their one true carry falling at the final few moments as Eileen makes his way onto the point with the EMP. Now's the Hunters' fight to lose. EMP coming out. It may have been felt like a bit of a waste there, Hex, but it's going to be the secure. Amon and Yveltal eventually end up falling down as the charge eventually cap first point. Oh boy, was it a struggle, but now they just need to make it to the second point.
Yeah, it's when that overtime music comes on, I don't really think any ult is super wasted in those situations. Like, if you don't use it and you die, then it was wasted in the worst possible way. Happy got a couple of kills early in that fight, and Guangzhou did a good enough job of stalling out with the rally ult that came in, because Shu died super early that fight. He got stomped on by Amon, but they were able to stall it out and get people onto the point back and forth with that extra rally armor, and the Bob actually playing a part by putting himself on the point too, and they were able to keep it alive for Shu to come back, keep everybody alive with Transcendence. So Guangzhou just has a great sense of the rhythm of this game, it seems.
Goodness. Just want to point out what happened there, by the way. With Eileen dying, he hacked Amon, but Amon managed to just find a kill on him somehow still as he was retreating. Molly does end up falling. Chengdu Hunters have got a lot of ults coming online right now, most importantly that EMP. I wonder if Charge is just going to try and play around Eileen's here. They have got Bob and a lot of ults to spare, though. One fight is all they need, Hex. That was just stomp and a half. Amon hacked, instantly killed. Feels like he should change off the Wrecking Ball. There's the EMP. Self-destruct launch in. Happy skirts away. Unlucky Rio. I think that landed potentially in the bubble. Somehow, Shu, tiny at hitbox, of course, did manage to survive the self-destruct. The rally's coming out from the Hunters now as you see a hack going out, and there's no one taking him down just yet. The armor just building up also pretty. But now the Charge, with 5 ults online, can push in. Hunters used a lot in that last engagement to try and fend them off.
Yeah, and they only need this one fight. I mean, that's where the progress has to go. They need about 20 meters here to be able to push in, and they are full on the bank. As long as they don't get dove on just like that, they have to reactive EMP.
Elsa inted into the backline to try and kill Chara, but it worked out. The Transcendence is going to be good enough, though. Molly used his as well at the same time. Shu and now Molly just chasing each other down. Both tanks dead for the Hunters. No more ults left. They're relying on Lee to try and farm his ult in time, but he's discorded, getting chunked so low as well. Eventually taken down by Happy, and now Charge with a couple of meters remaining to secure the series 3-1. Amon coming back, manages to get the mines off on the payload to delay the charge for a little bit longer, but can he get the damage done, Hex?
It's going to send Bob into the mines. Trying to get a body on this cart here. Happy gets another kill as Amon went down.
Perfectly timed ultimate from Lee there. Manages to get back in the fight rather quickly. Look at that ult charge building up already. EMP comes out as well. Hits 3. Lee is now unleashing the primal rage and now bapping people everywhere around, just trying to get them off the payload. Get hacked, burnt down as well. The Hunters so close to defending this payload. Oh my word, the Transcendence couldn't come quick enough. Shu is so close to it. Rally's going to come out as well, but instantly Chara ends up going down. Shu eventually with the Transcendence manages to get onto the point with it, but there are too many bodies for the Hunters now on the point. The Transcendence from Molly to match the one from Charge. Rio's going to be able to get back in time, but now is the slow bleed out as the Hunters manage to defend. Hex, we're going to a map 5.
I mean, I mentioned it, it's a style that I used to see in this region a lot, of not being able to close out fights cleanly, and that's why the defense is able to hold at the second point in Westworld on Hollywood. Your spawn is right there, theirs is not. The sloppier it gets, the more it favors the defense in those situations. But you do want to give a ton of credit for the Chengdu Hunters, especially their damage-dealing players. We talked about it in crunch time. These guys got to step up. Leave, super aggressive, died a lot, but took a lot of people with him on that Echo. The Echo play from Leave was just really, really good. And also, Guangzhou had the better Sombra in that match, too. So the Sombra Echo compositions definitely seem to favor Chengdu, because I think they have their better heroes on there. Yeah, it's just the sloppier those fights are going to get, the longer they go on, the more they're going to favor the defense. They just have more bodies, and it's just a war of attrition. And eventually, the flood of the defenders spawn is just going to overtake it, and that's what we saw there. And that's why the cart stopped where it did on the other push as well.
It looked like almost a perfect fight there for the Hunters.
When they did manage to get onto the backline and kill one of the supports, both Transcenders were popped. You're like, well, there it is. I mean, Hunters kind of win it. It did look like, however, though, that the Charge were able to kind of bring it back. That I think, honestly, the main issue there was the tanks kind of almost separating themselves from the supports. It felt like at times that Brig and the Zenyatta were almost on their own to kind of get picked off. And that's one of Wrecking Ball's biggest strengths, is being able to pick off a weak and squishy support. And Amon was almost let free from a lot of that. The hacks weren't focusing on him at the end of the game, it felt like, and it was just focused somewhere else. And Amon was just able to get mines off time and time again and just deny so much space.
Well, there was a moment where they sent in the self-destruct right by the jail, right? And so all the other supports for Chengdu had to go inside the jail. Ironically enough, Brig went in that jail and got beat to death by a Primal Rage Winston. But that limits his mobility, too, because he's got to walk out these doors, he's got to get the jump. And when you see the self-destruct and a Primal Rage Winston go after your Brig, your options as a tank for your team are, do I go help them? Well, that's probably not going to work. Or do I just go kill the other backline? I mean, that's always kind of the trade-off or dive, and I think Chengdu's ethos is, well, let's just kill the other backline. Our spawn's right there. If we trade, we win, actually.
Well, they did manage to take it, and I can't imagine... Well, I can't have thought, especially at the start of this series, that we were going to see a map 5 coming out of it. Charge looks so good coming into this week. Hunters a little bit lackluster, but turning it around completely on that third map. Now we're heading into a fifth. Hex, we're going the full distance. We're going to jump to a quick break, guys. Do not go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
What's up, guys? Welcome back. Hunters facing up against the Charge, and in that break, I did mention to Hex real fast, I didn't think we'd actually end up going to map 5. I thought this was going to be more of a one-sided series in the favor of the Charge coming into this evening, and we are jumping into a map 5 now. Chengdu Hunters have turned themselves around completely after that Gibraltar map, and now heading into another control. Where is this where have these Hunters been, Hex? Where has Leave and Jinmu been? I do not know.
Well, I mean, you know, we kind of thought, like, well, Guangzhou is playing really well. Chengdu is maybe not there. But, you know, welcome to the Panda Fiesta that is the Chengdu Hunters. They're an impossible team to cast because you're like, well, this should definitely go this way. It's like, oh, yeah, I forgot. It's Chengdu. They're just going to get 3 kills from their Sombra out of nowhere. Somehow Eileen gets 3 kills with very little support. They're going after it. Very difficult to predict this team, and it is the the Chaos Chengdu Hunters. Very fun to cast, very challenging to cast, because, you know, a lot of times you see enough Overwatch, you can just look at the kill feed, you can look at the health bars, and you can look at all percentages and be like, in all probability, 90%, this team should win the fight. And then that team starts winning the fight, and Chengdu flips it on his head. It's fun to watch, but they definitely got a big step up from their damage dealers. I thought both Jinmu and Leave outperformed both Eileen and Happy on that last map. They brought it back to the brink, but we're at 5 here. We're on Oasis. Ilios was a map that we started the night off with, and Guangzhou was able to win that one. A very different feeling map, especially this stage on Control. We'll see what either team wants to run. I imagine Happy on the McCree will be the order of the day. I wonder what Chengdu's going to run, because that's always the big question mark.
This doesn't really suit. I really don't feel this this stage specifically suits the ball at all, especially when
it doesn't matter.
I mean, it doesn't matter. You are right. Like, they will play ball regardless, but it's just so hard to get a lot of point presence here because you're just going to get chunked out. There's so many hiding spaces. Although Hunters are going to be able to control what, 70% of the map. Charge are left with that 30. And hopefully they're hoping that 30% is going to be the point. Just Sombra checking right now. Can't really find anybody. Perfect positioning, by the way, from Eileen. He's kind of hiding in the bottom there. They know Hunter's going to be on the high ground, hack someone as soon as they come in. Among's going pretty low, and Happy is not getting checked here at all, by the way. Just kind of left free to do whatever he so chooses, and he chose, in that very instance, to kill Among. And now the Hunters, they may control 70% of the map, but if that 30 belongs to Charge and it's the point, that's not a good space for them to be.
It seemed like they were trying to set up the ball Sombra dive on Happy, who was a little bit away from his team, but just, you know, just visually, his team was actually right there and checking him out too. And then it seemed like Amon just didn't get the memo that, oh, we're not doing that anymore, because Leaf was out of there. Amon still went in and just got completely chunked down. Amon now on the Winston will get hacked up and out of it, so he heard your call that it's not a ball map. But Chengdu struggles to take back points. They're good when they're in control and they can just push chaos towards the other team, but trying to take back, it usually takes a team fight effort. And Guangzhou is playing a pretty clumpy style aside from Eileen.
I mean, now as well, they can't use this nano. They have to save it for this Dragon Blade. Otherwise, the Dragon Blade is useless. It's like a pool noodle. It doesn't do anything. Among is going to get cornered here. There is the Deadeye. Oh, deflects. Doesn't quite get it off.
He heard it.
Yeah, beautiful. Beautiful little skip and a hop into that drop down. There's the sleep. There's the bash. There's the hack. There's the stun. Well, Amon couldn't play Overwatch there for about 6 or so seconds. Ends up getting taken down by Happy. And like I said, you're waiting for this EMP blade, but it takes a longer time to build up, especially if you're going into a composition like this. Bit of a Happy a little bit worried there. There's the hack. Nice little roll. Zoe manages to get it. There's the nano play. Oh my word. No nano, sorry. Molly did use it a little bit earlier on. Nice little charge. Nice little shatter from Rio as well. They still controlled the point. Rally going off though, hoping to see them through this whole thing. EMP did come about for the charge, and now they can just walk onto the point for free as Rio now goes Super Saiyan with that with the nano boost at his back. Gets booped into Rialto, and he ends up going down. I don't know what to say anymore, to be honest with you, Hex. And Amon comes back in only just to die there to the Deadeye.
I mean, this is
Overwatch. This is Overwatch, baby. This is Overwatch at 1 AM in your rank queues. It is absolutely just a fiesta currently. Charge not giving up the point just yet. Self-destruct on the point to try and clear some space. Elsa ends up going down. He did let his mech loose. Among is going to fall as well. This looks like it's going to be it. A pin onto Rialto, and that'll be the double kill with the self-destruct. This looks very reminiscent of what we saw in the first game of this series. And my word, that is going to be 100-0 in favor of the Charge.
This goes back to that Volskaya anecdote I was saying earlier in Season 2 about Chengdu. Chengdu is like a toddler with a jigsaw puzzle. You get all the pieces in place, and they're all ready, and they all look like they go really well together, and then they spill their milk and knock them off the table, and they just don't use them. So you have everything set up for... that composition is for Nano Blade or EMP Blade. One of the two, and it never came together. It never came together because they were busy putting one puzzle piece in their mouth, the other one fell under the fridge, and that's it. The whole puzzle falls apart. So why even try to build the puzzle to begin with? You put it all there, and then you never use them together. It is so frustrating to watch this Chengdu team because the idea of the strategy is there, and then the execution just falls apart when one person hits Q, and then everyone else tries to carry it and bring it back. That was difficult to watch, that Genji game.
It's tough to watch. It's even tougher to watch him get turned into margarine spread as he did kind of splat on the wall as well. That was a bit sad. Among is going to get hacked. And again, Eileen, I love the way he's playing right now. Just waiting, being a very defensive Sombra, waiting for the Hunters to engage and then going for a hack onto either the ball or Elsa. Nice little sleep onto Molly there. Doesn't get woken up. Not too much of a problem. At least Hunters here, they've got a lot of LOS they can kind of play around. Among's in the back line, is stunned though instantly. You see that? Perfect coordination. They get the flashbang, then the Brigitte's done, and then he can't do all too much as he gets naded on top of that too. They do end up trading though as Shu ends up going down, but Hunters, they're going to be able to force them out, but it's not going to be long before Shu comes back in.
Yeah, losing Shu there really hurts. That's your main heals, and then you can all clump up and try to get the healing from the Brigitte, but it's just not sustainable. They try to back out there, the shield cracks, and then leave, of course, who locked legs earlier. So can they be able to take him out? This is exactly where you want to be as Soldier 76. You're still on the high ground. You've got a Diva there for your defense. Molly says, this looks pretty good. You guys look like you're in a good spot. Just comes up and chills too. And right now, Guangzhou doesn't have a lot to be able to dislodge this. It would only be the Diva up there, and that's just a suicide mission.
I mean, especially with the Brigitte too. It's rather painful. Visor almost available. No nano to go along with it, sadly. Eileen setting himself up for EMP and success. Spots the Zen, instantly killing him off. That was a one body shot from Happy. Easily killing off the Zenyatta. Hunters, oh my word! Happy! Oh boy, you make me happy as well. That was just a ridiculous shot. I'm pretty sure he was just checking, but leveling up with the head like that looked pretty clean. Hunters do forego the point, however, got a lot of ults to come back into it.
He may have heard it though, because it was very quickly, like, he was just about cloaking. So he may have heard the footsteps coming around the corner. I wouldn't put it past Happy. If there was like a two-player video game where one person gets to be the Sombra, the other's a team of McCrees, I think Happy would definitely pick the McCree every time.
Oh, hands down.
Sombra Hunter. Make it happen in the workshop,
Sombra
please.
Hunter. Reminds me of a very old 2000s game, Spy Hunter. My goodness, that series died fast. Oh, speaking of dying fast. Jimmy's dead. Gets him again. And now with that EMP down, looks like the Hunters are going to back off. Or at least they should do, it feels like.
They have to leave. They have to go. But yeah, I mean, that's the Jinmu that happens sometimes. It's the good with the bad. Where Jinmu just gets caught out a lot. Even in their victory over Seoul, he died first a lot of the times trying to set up these aggressive VPs. He's an extremely aggressive Sombra, and you have to understand it's going to be punished sometimes.
Molly don't really want to take that duel. Happy actually backing off the high ground, gets EMP. Can they save anything? That's the question. Krong's mech a little bit unfortunate there as the tactical visor was used. However, I don't believe Rio was actually hacked in that instance, means attack visor didn't really do all too much. Eileen does go down though as the rally does come out before the charge, as well as the Hunters now at this very moment. Amon gets slept. Deadeye on the side. Oh, perfect defense matrix to save Amon. Now a self-destruct being launched in as they try and cap the point, only just managing to get it as the charge had to run away from that self-destruct.
Yeah, they just barely got the Matrix on the edge of the range there to cover up the Hammond, who was sleeping. They tried to Deadeye him, not going to happen. 75%, the Guangzhou Charge are a mere one fight away. This is a tough fight to, like, or a tough point to really clean everybody out on, so they might just want to buy their time
or do it to him.
An EMP.
He did it to him. Doesn't manage to get anybody else though. There's only one man, I believe, Shatter, and there's a Transcendence to actually back it up. Leaf ends up going down though, but that self-destruct is going to be good. Even falling as well as Happy goes Sombra hunting once more. There's the flash. Oh my word, that would have been such a sick clip. He was just a couple of pixels away from his head. My word, Happy is just having a field day in this 1v1 versus the Sombra. Another cap for the Charge is now final fight territory for the Hunters.
This guy got Deadeye on the trampoline. I don't think he's going to do what I would do, which is just jump up on the trampoline and try to hit the Deadeye. He'll just hold high ground, wait, and use it as a zoning tool. Maybe they can get another sleep and get a very free kill here. Chengdu, their cupboard is absolutely empty. Have to win this fight or the series is over.
Yeah, they do, and they got Deadeye to back them up with as well. Charge
Now up on the high ground, Shu has slept. Can they actually find the additional damage here? Happy's going to get naded as well. There we go. Instant kill. There's a 4-man EMP though, and High Noon from the high ground isn't going to do all too much as A-Man does manage to find the kill. However, Krong manages to find him as well. Eileen having the 1v1 of his life, but Leave ends up Spartan lasering him down. Eileen falling, and now Hunters are going to be able to reclaim control of the point. Charge know they have one fight though, as it's only 85% for the Hunters.
85%, and they're going to be able to come with a nano and rally. They onto this point. You don't even have to mess with high ground. You can just give it up. Just walk onto the point. All the healing in the world. Chengdu committed everything they had, but there's still an EMP. Jinmu can still win this for his squad.
He's got to set up though. Like you said, he has to play rather aggressive. I want to know where he is. There he is on the side. Trampoline up. Can hit the EMP here. Rally has still got off though, mind you. That's not going to strip away when the EMP comes out. Rio instantly naded as soon as that EMP did land. Eileen is going to at least trade one kill with Amon falling as well. Both main tanks dead. And that was a war of attrition, really. And Nano onto Happy. That's the one you want to put it on. There's the Deadeye. Shoots a little bit wide, but the damage really has already been done as Hunters had to scatter the 4 wins. Leave, Yveltal end up going down as well. And in a blink of an eye, Charge managed to clean the Hunters off the point. Score OT, score the point, and the victory will be theirs. 3-2 in the series.
Guangzhou Charge, just superior crowd control against the Chengdu Hunters team that hates being crowd controlled. You saw sleep darts happen on Amon all the time. You had Brigitte bash, you had McCree flashbang, and there were so many times where they're trying to set up an EMP and then get poked out, have to leave, get flashbanged, have to leave. Amon got abused and running ball, and I think, you know, if you're a team that's trying to prepare for Chengdu and ball is in the hero pool, you just say, okay, so what are our heroes here? Well, someone pick up Brig this week, and we have a McCree. And pretty much Happy was just hunting people constantly, just always getting shots in. He never really was in any sort of trouble, and just able to connect those shots, and it's as simple as that. And so, you know, Chengdu continued to run things into Happy's wheelhouse. I mean, they're running an Echo into him. They're just running stuff that, like, McCree is just the hard counter to, and you know, I think we might have the player of the match, Jaws. We may be hinting at it.
I wonder who it's going to be. It's going to be none other than Happy. What a surprise. Happy, like you said, when things go his way, they really do go his way. Nanoing at the last second, the Deadeye builds up so quickly as well. Almost managed to decapitate the Echo. And at the end of the day, if you're putting all those resources into your star player, you want him to perform. Happy does that time and time and time again. Put him on the Kree, put him on the Widowmaker. He does it all. And consistency, especially in the hero pools and with the meta changing almost every single week, that is what is key. And that is definitely a massive boon for the Charge. Pick up another W as well going into the tournament next week.
Yeah, you can't ban all of Happy's heroes. I think, honestly, you know, I'm the biggest Happy fan in the world. I think he only has 4 heroes, which is fine. He's got Tracer, McCree, Ashe, and Widow. Those are his 4 heroes. You can't get rid of all of them. We saw him slap the Vancouver Titans on Tracer play, which is a revelation to me. I didn't really see him play a ton of it in Season 2. On the counter side, when he has to play Sombra, I'm like, oh, no, this is not going to go well. But, you know, when you have a consistent hit scan threat like that, it makes the other team have to change, have to evolve around it. And Chengdu is not a team that is very good at changing and evolving. Chengdu plays what they play, and Happy, they played right into his hand, right into his wheelhouse, and he made him pay. It took 5 maps, which is a little surprising, but Guangzhou will stay undefeated in our standings for the monthly monthly melee, whatever.
I see what you're trying
Old
to do
habits
there.
die hard, Jaws. Old habits die hard.
That is true. That was very much in the past, though. Let's look forward to the present. That was your Xfinity, of course, player of the match. It's going to be Happy. And with that victory, they do lock in at the #1 seed going into the tournament next week. What a fantastic comeback for the Charge. I bet the fans are just absolutely elated with the team. And I don't think it's going to really stop there. They've looked good time and time and time again. I think this is definitely a lot. This series especially, we did think it was going to be a little bit more one-sided towards the Charge, but I think this is really the Hunters looking exponentially better than the Charge looking worse, because the Charge, although it was a little bit scrappy at times, still look like a dominant force, and they are just going to tear through the tournament next week, it feels.
Well, I mean, Chengdu's always going to throw you a curveball, and it's just how are you going to react to it? There were a couple times Chengdu had players Well, we went to our halftime, our crunch time. We said like the DPS for the Chengdu Hunters have to step up, and they did in a big way. The issue is that it's not consistent. It's not the consistent play that you get from Guangzhou. I mean, the thing about Guangzhou is still has a lot of great players sitting on the bench. They're going to be able to adapt to any style of play that they want to bring into the tournament as that top seed. Chengdu, they brought the chaos. They brought those games in. I mean, Chengdu just did sweep Seoul. We don't know what that means. I don't know what beating Seoul means anymore. I truly do not. But I think Chengdu is always a team to be reckoned with. Like 4-9 record, it's not great, but it's always scary to play them. And when you're in a tournament-type situation, you just got to get hot at the right time. And if you're getting hot at the right time, Chengdu they could definitely make some noise. But the Guangzhou Charge squeak out the victory against a team they should have beat. They solidify their top spots. They get it done however they had to get it done, and it's a really exciting team to watch.
Well, we've got another 2 exciting teams to coming up after this break as well. We got the Spark facing up against the Spitfire. Both teams, Hex, they need a W. They need a W pretty fast. We did see London almost pop off the other week, and I want to see if they can kind of continue that aggression that they've been playing. I love seeing Glister play, but then I also like seeing Gosby play as well. We've got Spark facing up against the Spitfire. After this break, guys, do not go anywhere. We'll be right back.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Xfinity, the preferred internet provider of the Overwatch League. The Overwatch League is brought to you by ZipChair Gaming, the official chair supplier of the Overwatch League, and by TeamSpeak, the official voice supplier of the Overwatch League.
What's up, guys? Welcome back. We got the Hangzhou Spark facing up against the London Spitfire on your screens rather soon. And Hex, everybody needs a win in life, and I think Spark and London need one right now as well.
And got chased down that big dub. Both, I think, sitting at 1-2 in the tournament standings right now, so it's a really important game for them. And both of these teams are good, but they have cracks in their lineups, I think. First of all, speaking about Hangzhou, they just released a really interesting webcomic that is Godsby meeting an old friend at an airport, so that's got the rumor mill flying. I really think that they need to bring in another piece here. The more I watched them last night as the games went on, I was like, they have like 4 really good players, but I think they need some upgrades there. So rumors of maybe Hangzhou comes in. That'd be a nice addition. Or maybe the Architect comes in. Maybe that's the old friend. But I think they will end up making changes, but they need this W first. So who they're going to start now, who's actually on the roster, Godsby crushes. We all know that. Adora is going to be his damage-dealing partner. Gushue and Sashin are going to be the tank line, and Bebe and IDK. We talk about the stalwart supports in this region, and they're a great pair. Sashin is a really good Zarya. I thought some of his other off-tank has been lacking too, so that might be a position to look at an upgrade as well.
Yeah, their support line is just absolutely ridiculous. IDK especially is just insane, like inhuman reactions. It feels like sometimes with the Lucio. He's definitely one of the all-time great boopers, I feel like. Like, we got a lot of them in the league, and you have to be a good booper to be in the league, that is for sure, but definitely up there in terms of it. And I think I'm going to keep harping on about it because I'm a support player and I want to talk about it because we get not enough praise, okay? Just because we're not in the kill feed doesn't mean we're not popping off. And I think we saw a lot of it, especially in the Hunters' previous games with people like Molly, and even the Boston game that we had earlier on today with Myeonbong. There is just so much you can do on a support that sometimes goes a little bit unnoticed. I did end up tweeting it out, like Myeonbong sleeping Shaz. Like, if you sleep another island, that's so much little healing that's left available. If you have a good backbone in your team, a good support lineup, you're going to do also well. And I think that's what Spark do really have in spades. It's that addition, like you said, that's something else that they potentially need to see them at their highest highs that they're maybe after. And I'm very excited to see who they actually pick up, because that comic that you alluded to a second ago, it's saying it's like, oh, like, I'll be meeting you again, or something along those lines. And I've been racking my brain. I've been looking on over.gg. I've been just making sure, like, who played with who. So Godsby played with...
It's the old X6
roster. Okay, so who was on X6 the time that he was on it? And so I'm, like, kind of making a mental list and kind of just making a web of, like, who played with who and who can go on what team. And someone like, maybe Hangzhou would be rather cool, but Architect does seem like a pretty big component to a big asset to a team like Spark. That would be incredible. But for the time being, we've got someone like Godsby who's very, very seasoned in of itself. He just hasn't found the success that he's previously found, and it's a little bit disappointing, honestly, because you expect Godsby to be just a pop-off player left, right, and center. He's just been lackluster this season.
I had him as my Rookie of the Year in Season 2, but then the meta shifted, and obviously, all those predictions went away. But Godsby has that carry potential that we just saw from Happy as well. So, like, when I talk about those hit scans that were entering the league last year, it was always Happy and Godsby that I was keeping my eye on. Adora will play the Torb on occasion, the Atorba, if you will, and he's been okay at times, but it's not good enough in this region to be okay at times. So I think that's a position that they could look to upgrade. We'll see next week going through it. But this London starters, if you weren't like really familiar with the tier 2, sometimes even like tier 3-ish, 2.5-ish scene, some of these names might have been catching you as a surprise as they announced their roster before the season started, Josh.
Yeah, definitely. And it's something that before I came into the season, of course, and I was researching a whole bunch of the teams, and I would normally do that anyway, regardless of me casting Overwatch League, because I really like watching a lot of the contenders regions and just being able to piece together what this team could potentially be, and like where they came from, of course. But the most interesting thing about London, and we cast one of their first games, Hex, back in week 1 in New York.
In New York, another life ago.
Yeah, it does feel like another life ago. And London surprised me week on week on week, and throughout their entire roster, there's only really 2 people that you'd be like, okay, they're going to be in the league. Like, hands down, 100%, there's no way they're not going to be. And that was Glister, and that was Krillin. And the rest of their players, and some of them had only really played in Korea Cups, a monthly tournament over in Korea that was was held by a small org, and it was interesting to see because you're like, okay, so what are these guys' accolades? Okay, they came first in Korea Cup. A lot of the Gen G B squads, Gen G C squads, Gen G S squad. Okay, that makes sense. No contender seasons under their belts. And you wouldn't really expect a whole bunch of them. You'd expect a whole bunch from people like Glister, who was arguably the second highest prioritized DPS after Sparkle, who is coming of age rather soon to come into the league. But
end of the month.
Yeah, exactly. The end of the month, 31st of May, if anybody's keeping track. For those of you who aren't keeping track, sorry. And now we are in a situation where London are proving themselves. Like, what better stage to prove yourself on than the Overwatch League, Hex? And Korea Cup players in Overwatch League. Like, my brain can't, like, what is going on? But they're just providing such ridiculous performance that I don't think anybody really expected of them.
And it goes back to New York, too, because I remember watching this, and they played New York close. They took a map off New York, and then they played Dorado very close against New York as well. So Glister, although Jaehoon, Bernard, Hailey, and Sanguinar are going to be the starters for your London squad. I think Hailey has played really well lately, although, as well, I mean, they have guys, and if you watch the series against Shanghai, this team is not far away from beating these top teams. Like, it goes back to New York. They played Shanghai close. Like, don't look at the scoreline, watch the game. They played Shanghai pretty close. So London is on the cusp of being a very, very solid team. There's not really a terrible team in this region. So every win is so hard fought. We'll see how it starts off here on Ilios between Hangzhou Spark and the London Spitfire.
Oh, we've got Wrecking Ball. And we got Glister on the Ash. I would love to see Glister Doomfist once again, but I don't think it's going to be reality, especially when Sombra's in the mix.
Hey there.
It's going to be Godsby versus, although, just like London, take a rather aggressive position. They can do with the ball. The ball rolls out a little bit quicker, but Spark's taking control of the mini health pack. Point's going to unlock in a couple of seconds, though, and Spark kind of refusing to set up at this current point. I say that as they're actually jumping onto the back line. We're on the Sombra for a time being there. Somehow not taking anybody down, mind you. Sanguinar's just doing so much damage, already up to 40% hold charge.
Godsby gets very, very low, but he's able to get out with his life. But a very uncontested first point take. London was just camping on it the entire time. Hangzhou was trying to press the issue in pack room, but a good disengage from London. Now the fight starts.
Oh, what a perfect hack. And a perfect beam down as well. There's the power driver. Extra damage on the side. Unfortunately ended Jihoon's life. I believe he got booped off there by the thrusters as he went for the power driver. Very, very fast flip around. That's all you need sometimes, Hex. Just a hack on one person. They go down and you can take control of the game.
And it's a really good early sign if you're a Hangzhou Spark fan that the first 2 kills came from Sashin and Adora on this team. I would probably rank them as the 5th and 6th best starters on this team. And if they have good games, those are the games that the Spark win.
It's a position where Glister's in a bit of an awkward situation, right? Because he needs to pay attention to Adora, but he's going to be so vulnerable if his Brick's not around, but the Brick's also going to have to kind of contest on the point. That's why Adora's got a little bit more free reign here, I feel like. Just because of that. Gushwei in the back line. Oh, he's on the monkey. Oh, he's also good at it. Surrendering one supports life and sending him to the grave and forcing out a Transcendence as well. He's going to be able to get back to the point 2 without losing too much HP. And in fact, do a little bit more. They didn't expect that, did they? The big wraparound from Gushwei going up and over, back into the room. Hailey and Glister end up going down. And that'll be Godsby on himself an EMP as well.
You can just imagine them like, oh,
we're
he's
safe.
Gone.
Finally.
He's gone. Oh, he's back!
It's like a horror film. My word. In one outdoor,
I mean, it would be terrifying.
Back in the other.
Yeah, there's a movie with killer monkeys. There's a lot of them. Congo would be the one that comes to mind. But, yeah, 70% and counting up. Just that fast on Ilios here. And Godsby is sitting there with ultimate. Adora's got duplicates, and they've got a self-destruct and rally ready to go, too. So Hangzhou can take this at their own leisure here. They only need one more fight.
The perfect Minesweeper tool, the Bob. There's the EMP. That was almost perfect. Godsby ends up taking out, although though, Gushwei is going to fall. Does mean there's going to be a rather big gap in the tank line of the Spark now, as Sassin also has his mech destroyed. However, Spark still have 96% on the board and building. There will be a remech as well for the Diva, for the Spark, and they can get back in. Instant nano onto Gushwei on the side. He's going to get beaten away a little bit by the Wrecking Ball, but still the fight on the point is where it's meant to be. And Jihoon once again being slept, almost bullied at this point, and hacked. There you go. Like, there's nothing the Wrecking Ball can really do if he's out in the open. Adora does transform into the rallying
Brigitte, as he does manage to help the rest of his team on the point. Godsby's going to clean everybody up. One of the most powerful picks you can really change into at this point in the game. Spark taking the W on Lighthouse. And Spitfire didn't look lost, I would say, Hex. Just feels like it lacked coordination with the ball and the rest of the DPS on the side.
And then they end up getting forced in a bad spot where you have to put your Ashe on the point. Ended up dying to the Brigitte too. And I gotta say, Adora had a really nice echo there. And it's a good sign for this Hangzhou team. I was talking to Dante about like the hero selection you want to duplicate into. He's like, you just want to pick a hero that's definitely going to get ult, right? And it's like, yeah, well, that's Brig and that's Winston, that's Reinhardt, that's these tank ultimates. Because if you're picking a DPS to try to get like a second EMP or something, it's super, super risky. And if you're already winning a fight enough that you're committing ultimates, you don't want to take a risky pick there, which is why you're seeing all of the targets that we do consistently see from the duplicate. And Godsby is going to be on the McCree. Glister the longer range on the Ashe. Other than that, kind of, no, not even close to mirrored up. Ryan Zarya. I've actually seen Sashin win this point for his team against Shanghai by himself on the Zarya. It's his best hero.
Hands down, I'm glad we're seeing it. I'm glad we're seeing Godsby on the Kree as well. It does bring a tear to my eye. Bring X6. Oh dear, that doesn't. That's a tear of sadness, I think. Yep, whoops-a-daisy. Praise be the McCree, and then he gets instantly taken out by Glister. It's a rather easy spot for Glister to really be in. I mean, at the end of the day, who's really going to challenge him? I mean, Bebe maybe, Sasha not really, because he's protecting his main tank. Godsby hasn't got the range like the Ashe does. You see how far he's playing up. It has a little to no fear on the Ashe.
First point taken, though. Godsby's back in the fight. That was the first kill, but London did nothing with it. They just give up the point.
Yikes. And they give up lives as well. This is going to go down. So one thing you got to do, especially if you're London Spitfire on this comp, Hex, dive the backline. That's what it does best.
Yeah, I mean, but every time they dive the backline, they were just getting stunned out by IDK and then flashbanged again. The CC is just so strong. It's so difficult to run a Wrecking Ball effectively against the compositions that we're seeing. I mean, you still even have a Sombra for Hack. Maybe you dive on Bebe, but then he just drops his immortality field. Like, I just don't see a great dive target for this London Spitfire squad, and they're running Ball D.Va to try to dive it, and then the last part of that is although getting in position. It's going to take a lot of coordination to find an isolated target.
And there's going to host translocator in the brush. Brush? I meant to say brush and then bush at the same time. Ended up as brush. Well, there it is.
Now part of the vernacular. There's just the good old Ilio brush.
Thank goodness. Oh! Jihin? He's going to be fine. The window's going to get opened up, and Glister ends up getting taken down by Zarya. Hack onto the ball. He slowly, surely does end up walking away to that hacked health pack. Still, Spark do control the point. Nothing really happening, to be honest with you. Spitfire are just losing one by one, and it's hard to go in. Like you said, if they dive the back line, they're just going to get destroyed by IDK and Godsby. And even Adora going for these hacks. The hammer does strike the ground, as well as Kushway getting beaten up on the sidelines. Luckily, Immortality Field is there to save his life. EMP still available for the side of the Spark. They just have to wait for the London Spitfire to kind of bait themselves in. Graviton Surge in onto nothing. There's the thought that counts, really, though. Bob's going to land onto the point as well, but the shields are going to help the rest of Spark stay alive and still sitting on ultimates as the Spitfire eventually managed to touch the point, potentially taking it too, but the Spark are not letting this point go so easily, although gets instantly killed though as the EMP landed on him when he was in stealth. That's just going to be it, and surely Bernard can come back in with a self-destruct maybe, but no, they just get pushed off. Spark in a domination of a game take out the Spitfire, a clean 2-0 on Ilios.
Glister never got really anything going on that Ashe, even though he had the early position on. Hangzhou Spark just a much better point presence composition. So the moment they take over that point, you've got a Zarya and a Ryan there. McCree is just chilling behind shields, living all the life that he wants. Ball tries to get in. Every time Ball went in, he was getting bashed, hacked, and everything. I think most of the time we were just seeing the Hammond look for health packs. That was pretty much his entire game plan there. London never got any momentum. They would get a single kill but then lose one immediately. Even throwing the grab, and he said it's the thought that counts. That's factually wrong. That does not count for grabs. But London just got nothing going. No momentum. even opening picks were being answered immediately, and I just have to start questioning the Hammond against a team with so much hard CC. There are 3 heroes immediately that straight up counter the Hammond, and then there was actually a really nice immortality field that kept Gushue alive in a situation that he probably should have died. So the supports, you said, don't get enough credit, but that was a moment that you saw that probably Immortality Field wins that fight for him, because then Ryan can come back to the point, and they can just wait until the engage comes on them, counter EMP comes off, a good disengage from Hangzhou. The teams that win in Overwatch League, and it's not as flashy as just being all-out aggro, are teams that disengage properly, still holding on to the point, still just waiting. We're disengaging, you come to us, now we're going to fight. So Hangzhou has both sides of that game. Utter domination on Ilios.
Yeah, just kind of crazy. They're not only perfect disengages, like you said, but holding on to their ultimates as well. Just nothing really happened, to be honest, on Ruins. It was one pick after one pick after one pick, or either the Hammond got hacked and then he's out of the game for a couple of minutes as well. It's a very tough situation to be London in that situation. And I got to say, Spark looking also clean. We'll have to wait and see if they can take the next map, or will Spitfire come back. We're going to go jump to a quick break, guys. Do not go anywhere. We'll see you in a bit.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile. Rank up with America's largest 5G network. Switch to T-Mobile today. And by State Farm. For auto, home, or renters insurance. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. The Overwatch League is brought to you by Cheez-It Grooves. Deep flavor, deep crunch. It's a mind crunch. And by Zip Chair Gaming, the official chair supplier of the Overwatch League.
Well, family lambs, welcome back. Spark versus Spitfire. Map number 2 coming up soon. And Hex, we were joking about it a little bit earlier on. Let's be real with the viewers for just a moment. And we said first series is probably going to be fairly one-sided. We thought Charge was going to 3-0 or maybe 3-1. However, we didn't expect this series to be, for the moment, I don't want to be a one-map Andy, but for the... it's looking a bit rolly. I thought this series would be incredibly close considering how both the teams are performing recently. The narrative is going to be swapped for these. It seems that way for the time being.
Yeah. I mean, it's control, so sometimes you can just throw that one out there a little bit. You know, that control can be a little bit chaotic, and the team that wins the first fight is very likely going to win the map. I believe it bears out like 60+% of the team that wins the first fight ends up winning the stages on control.
It was on, so
and
well, there we go. Well, I can hear Hex. If you guys can hear him, hopefully as well. If you're thinking
I'm not muted in OBS, but if production tells me
figure that out in just a second. But regardless of that, Hex, yes, I mean. We spoke about it at the end of that game, right? London didn't really do much because they couldn't. That was the thing. It was just Spark just having every single tool to answer what London threw at them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to keep talking until production tells me I'm like, for sure muted because I didn't touch anything or change anything.
Okay, so, so Hex can't be heard currently, so it's just going to be me. Sorry, Hex, you're out of this one, mate. It's just me. Whether that's fortunate or unfortunate for you guys, you get to make that decision. You're just stuck with me. There's not much you can do about that one. Spark, London, or Hangzhou London even, or Spark Spitfire, whatever you want. We're jumping on to Anubis. We see Spark on the offense, Spitfire on the defense. Oh, Spitfire, they got to run the double shield, man. There is absolutely no way you run something like a ball here. They have had a small substitution, I will say. They are jumping in with JMac and Clayston this time around on this map. I wonder if they bring in Jihoon just for the control. We do see a lot of teams bring in certain players for control, or obviously the normal thing to do is to swap out for the different kind of tank styles. Clearly trust JMac a little bit more on the Winston here than Jihoon. However, again, going for this dive, and Hex, are you back?
We're going to test it out. They said, jump in there when you're ready, and I said, I'm always ready. I was born ready. I came with the Overwatch theme song was playing at my birth. I swear, it was just in the stars, so that's how born ready I was.
Wow. You good?
I've been told I was good. I stopped the stream, I restarted the stream, we're going. If you're a streamer, you know sometimes things just get a little wonky there. Great carry, Jaws. You're my new favorite rap god. I love you.
I carry every game.
Carry every game. As a player, as a caster, you know.
I got carried so hard the other day by fusions of Punk in Q. Thank you guys for that. That was not one of my finest games, I will tell you that right.
London playing really far back. They give up platform for free, 100% free.
It's a big hack too. Although not too much is actually going to come of it. They're going to get trapped in this little room. Gemma taking a whole bunch of damage. What was that? Oh my goodness.
Godsby got sent to the Shadow Realm.
He just got incinerated. That was awful. Oh my word. And Spark are going to have to kind of wait for him to come back at this point, although he's going to take a nice little high ground advantage here as well.
They're trying to get set up with a turret. I mean, it's exactly, they're in the spot they want to be with the composition. Now it's just a matter of getting Godsby back into the mix here.
Nano boost. Well, Bebe is going to go down. Joe just landed a nice little punch to his temple. He ends up falling. Nice little pin, though. Potential pin. Godsby does take out highly. One healer now remaining for the Spitfire as they do back onto the point. You can really feel it now in their health bars. Look how slowly they are ticking up, or just kind of non-existent if you're Sanguinar. JMac, although playing a little bit more passive as well. Spark, this is their time to attack, but they're playing a little bit passive here, Hex, actually.
Yeah, it's been weird where these fights are happening in the rotations of these teams. I had to double check which team was on offense and which team was on defense there for a second, because London found themselves in a very defensive spot. Again, platform given up for free. This should bode well for Hangzhou being able to set up a turret wherever they want. EMP got up, though.
Such a good EMP, though, as well. But Perfect Bubble actually is going to save Adora from going down. Immortality Field gets taken out, though, and Clayson is going to follow up with a whole heap of missiles. And that will be a fire grenade in the back. Assassin, yeah, he's going to find himself going back to spawn as well. However, Godsby opening this up with a Deadeye 2 is going to get spotted up by Sanguinar. Does little to nothing there, and he absorbing into the shield. Spark still with a nice little position, but almost playing like Spitfire here. They're not really getting much done with the ults that they have. They're pushing onto the point eventually and getting some time and percent.
Well, Molten Core, Grav, and Shatter are about to come up, so this is the perfect window here. Although has been playing so far back.
also a little bit more aggressive here. This is a perfect time to change into the Rhine. Everybody's in a very, very tight corridor. Molten Core's going to come out and end Sanguinar's life, although already has that Earth Shatter. Everybody's in a room. It's almost perfect, but he's going to get grabbed. Oh, the Shatter wasn't going to hit anybody anyway. He threw it out. The counter pin attempted, but an instant Shatter from Gushue sends the Echo flying. He ends up getting back up into the air in time, however. Speaking of things in the air, that's a self-destruct onto the high ground. Gushue blocks all that damage with his meaty shield as Godsby ends up taking out, although in the air, he's going fairly low, but he has the backup. Veve and IDK keeping him alive for the time being. It took Spark a little while, but they managed to cap first point and add 3 minutes to their time bank.
I'm just sitting, jaw wide open that the duplicated Reinhardt got a Earth Shatter on a single fire strike.
That was insane. A little bit ridiculous, if I do say so. 500% ult charge. Just absurd.
They're in a good spot, though. It's a decent push. Both support ultimates, and then if they can just fight long enough, maybe use Deadeye, and then get the Molten Core. Molten Core is the new Blizzard with Mei out of the meta.
Oh my word. That was almost a one-shot, it looked like, onto JMac. Deadeye's available. Window is up. JMac ends up going down, and Spark marching on to this second point. 2 ticks almost there. 66.6%. There you go, 2 ticks finally acquired. Now London Spitfire actually do something. Now almost 98%. They're going to need to keep touching. They've given up so much time and space already. Now they haven't got anything really to lose here as they throw everything in. A 6-man EMP, but they briefly get off the point. And Spark end up finding the cap. Almost 3 minutes in their time bank. A struggle to cap first, but second point, cap just like that.
Just feels a very, very passive from London Spitfire. They almost lived up to their parent organization there, too, and just walked off the point. It wasn't entirely the case there at the end. They were forced off the point, but the EMP comes out way too late. Although has been playing on a different map. I think he's shooting people from Hanamura in a very strange position on that Echo. The only time he was aggressive is when he turned into Reinhardt. Even then, they just grabbed him up. But London just never really hitting the button to go, to dive on a target, to coordinate with it. The one time they tried to jump on Godspeed, but only 2 tanks were alive, and then it ended up being a 2v6 because they jumped on Godspeed with everybody on his team within 2 meters of him. London just doesn't have the go button right now, and I just really want them to be a little more aggressive. Although he's playing out of range of the focus beam even. I haven't really even seen that ability come out from him. And I get it, because the moment he pops his head out in any sort of open space, Godspeed's clicking it. But if that's the issue, then you either have to play kind of a ground Echo, which we've seen before. Ground Fire and ground Echo can work until you take away the threat, and then you use your mobility. But it's just not happening for London here. It wasn't a terrible defense, though. They had a couple of good fights, but it seems like they're having trouble picking when to go in and which target to fight.
They're going to the same kind of composition on offense as well. Although he's going to have to contend with 2 things. Adora's turret. Oh, well, he's dead. Adora's turret, or just Adora. And Godspeed to boot as well. I mean, he's not on the Kree, but the Ashe has a little bit of more of effective range. Nice little scope on the gun, too. Feels like although it needs to change, man. This is the point in the game where you're kind of begging your DPS, like, you need to match this hit scan. I'm not sure the Echo is currently working. He got a nice, obviously, fire strike before, earning himself a shatter, but that got little to nothing done as Spark had the tools to deal with it. JMac ends up going down. IDK goes fairly low, but again, although, like you were saying, Hex, he's just doing it right now. He's playing so far out of range in London. Passive.
There's going to be no one to really even contest Godspeed here on the high ground. You can't send your tanks up there. It's out of range of a traditional dive. You have to dive once, establish a footing on the platform while maybe someone else is doing damage to distract, and then dive again if you really want to get up to the Ashe. But Ashe just playing on platform, now not playing super far back, not exposing himself. He's got all those zoned out, though, in the corner. And London lost that first fight so poorly that they don't really even have much to work with. I think you have to nano the Winston here.
They nano JMac, but he instantly fell down. He thought he took too much damage, so didn't want to go back up. And now half this nano has really been wasted. He didn't really get much done whatsoever. And now Sashin's just going to be able to burn him out too, because he's fairly charged up with all the poke damage that Although has been doing. Bob come through onto the point, well, not onto the point, sorry, onto the high ground as well, just to fend off Spitfire. Now the Molten Core trapping everybody in a room. You might as well die to it. Don't give him ult charge. And again, it's the slow bleed out from London here. Spark have got every tool in their arsenal
to just fend them off.
I'm really glad that Hangzhou recognized that, though, because both tanks were just out in no man's land. They were back towards the other spawn, and they got themselves in really poor position, so Hangzhou had a great opportunity to just roll over the rest of the team. They end up committing the Molten Core to it, which is fine, as long as they wrap them up and able to get those kills. That's a couple of fights that have just gotten absolutely nothing with only about 90 seconds remaining on the offense here. London has to get going, about to reach a climactic moment here because they're going to have EMP, they're going to have Duplicate, they're going to have everything that they need going forward in this fight. And Hangzhou doesn't have a ton, but the more time you give them, the closer they get.
There's the EMP, but Bevy didn't actually get affected whatsoever, so he can then lay down the Immortality field whenever he likes. EMP now wearing off as Spark back to full fighting force. There's the Graviton Surge. J-Mac jumping in to help his teammate, stuck there for a little bit. Graviton Surge is going to get earned fairly quickly by Although is transformed into the Zarya, but he's just getting bullied out. Look, he can't even get much damage done, Hex. Luckily, he's got increased ult generation. There's the grab in the back, but can damage be done here? I'm not entirely sure. Sangromar's going off as well in the sidelines. Gushui going fairly low as Adora ends up falling. Immortality Field keeps them alive for the time being, but Bob can be unleashed at any moment. The damage is really going to have to get piled on thick and fast here by Spitfire, or they're going to lose the war of attrition, and that's exactly what they are doing. Bob doing his best, killing off Sanguinar. A swift shot to the temple, kills off Clayton as well, and now London Spitfire on the verge of losing map number 2. The Spark have just done extraordinary, just unbelievable, playing around so much of what Spitfire has thrown at them.
Yeah, they went after Gushui really hard there, but give the Hangzhou Spark supports a ton of credit. You don't often even see him on the same screen just based on the camera, but he had Bebe in there with him too, and he was just getting pumped full of heals. Another weird position from the London tanks, not together, kind of all over the place.
Yeah, mobility cooldowns have been used by the tanks as well, so Godsby gets a free bit of high ground. There's the window from the sidelines too, although ends up going down. Adora, I think, found him in the back line. Molten Core's going to come through, create a very harsh wall for them to go through. The Nano on the Winston's ambitious at that. He was using Primal Rage, his slap's doing about 40 damage now instead of the 30. Although he's going to be able to get back on points again, but once more it's a slow beat out. Highly ends up falling, and EMP is good, but Godsby and Adora still alive, just shooting away, and there it is. London Spitfire fall as the Spark go 2-0 up in the series.
The London Spitfire look rudderless in a nosedive. However many plane analogies you want to fit into this one, though, the tank positioning was just baffling a lot of the times from the London Spitfire. And maybe they're trying to work out a coordination for the dive, but there was more often than not, the Diva was behind the offensive points. The Winston ended up there a couple times. They were trying to go on like pretending like they were old school Genji, going through left side and then coming up over the top to deal with Godsby in some of those high ground positions. And then of course you have the distance dealers on the other platform. They were never able to get anybody up there, and the Echo never really got anything done. Even the Duplicates were, it was like, okay, they have ults. They got 2 tank ultimates from the Duplicates, and they got nothing going for them. The supports for Hangzhou, I feel, never died. London just, I don't know. They're in a tailspin right now.
They are in a tailspin. Like you said, nose diving down to the ground. However, they can come back. We've seen it once tonight already. Can they turn their heads around and march forward into the sunset of victory, not just walking off the map? Now, the Spark are in a good situation, though. They only need one more map win, and if they just keep playing like they're playing, protecting their supports and pocketing Godsby, it's going to look like a clean 3-0. We're going to jump to a quick break, guys. You're not going to want to miss the next map. We'll see you in a bit.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by ZipChair Gaming, the official chair supplier of the Overwatch League.
Welcome back, guys. This is your game break presented by Pringles Wavy. And Hex, well, the Spark are doing a little bit of a Jaws impression back then, just holding up the gun and saying, sit down, watch some Overwatch, London Spitfire. They haven't got a banana, they've actually got the finger guns instead. A little bit more dangerous, I'd have thought. But London, they've been watching Overwatch. They haven't really been playing it. Let's be real ourselves here.
Yeah.
Their execution on things like EMP have just been rather lackluster, and we spoke about it during the little break there. We had the little downtime, and their tanks seem to be off in a different world. And although just playing so passively, it didn't feel like that burst damage, that incredible amount of burst damage and pressure the Echo can put on was really come about.
Yeah, I mean, the Echo is very much about like getting the chip damage in, because it's a big clip and it reloads like instantly. You got 15 there, get the chip damage, you hit a sticky. But the reason why stickies are so incredibly terrifying is because you know what's next is the focus beam, which I've come to call the balanced beam, because it doesn't really feel like it sometimes. You just get nuked down. But he's playing outside of the effective range of that. He doesn't have the killer instinct to just kind of like, oh, I have something, everybody go, here's the beam, we win the fight. That hasn't happened at all. So, I mean, there have been some bright spots, and it's just, in Overwatch, if you're a half second late, you're 5 minutes late. You know, if a ability comes out, not everyone's there to capitalize on it, then did it even come out at all? And I think you had a great point. You talk about the crunch time for us, the guy who's got to, or the rest of the team that has to step up around it is Glister, because he's been hitting EMPs.
Left, right, and center. And that's the thing. It's almost like we're seeing the last game where, or at least the first two maps from Hunters and Charge, where they were hitting EMPs, but the follow-up wasn't really there. That is going to be definitely the big crunch time moment for London Spitfire if they want to be able to turn this series around, because, and what we touched on at the very start of the series, they need the wins, like, badly. Both the team's performances over the last couple of weeks has been so-so, although I say that, London had a very good game against the Dragons the other day.
Like close.
Pretty close. And for a team like London to take the Dragons to that many maps, that's pretty crazy in of it itself. And I did mention before, like, a lot of these London players coming into the Overwatch League previously, apart from people like Glister, Krillin, etc., there were big unknowns. A lot of players hadn't even played in contenders, yet they were facing up against the Dragons and taking maps, which is incredible for for a team like London up against the Dragons, who looks like they're going Super Saiyan Mark 3, you know? And the London just need some of that spark in them, no pun intended, up against the Spark right now.
I think I think they have to play the passive way they've been playing until the moment happens, so that they can capitalize on the EMP. Because what's been happening is they're playing passive, people get knocked out of position, and then the EMP comes off. You've got a tank who's hanging out on Gibraltar, although is playing from Hanamura. The Winston is jumping into grabs, and he's at low health somewhere. So the EMP comes off, hits 6, and they're like, oh, that kind of tickled. It was like, licking a 9-volt battery. That was nice. And then nothing ever happens of it. So I think they can play passive, and they can wait around for these ultimates to happen. But then you have to all be in fighting form and in the right position. And London didn't have anybody in the right position when these big ultimates were coming out. They never really executed a dive properly, and they were trying to run this dive. And I think they got preoccupied with Godsby. And I get it. Very good player, but you can kind of just try to take a fight where he's not and see if you can pull something off. But they were sending divas on like Genji flanks to go deal with them. The Primal Rage was aimed almost entirely at Godsby. There comes a point where you just have to be like, okay, we can't deal with it this way, and we're dying all the time trying to do it, so let's try something else. But so far, it's the coordination's not there. So play passive until that moment. But the problem is they're playing passive, getting chipped, and that moment never comes.
Well, there it is. It's crunch time for the Spitfire. They need to come back in the series. They need a complete reverse sweep right now to see them through to a W at the end of this. But Spark, match point is in their laps. We'll see if they can take it all the way after this break.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Pringles Wavy. Big crunch, big flavor. The Overwatch League is brought to you by HyperX. Unleash your style, unleash your fury with HyperX Fury Memory. And by Coca-Cola, the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
Hey guys, welcome back. Spark versus the Spitfire. This is it. Spark need a win. London need a win. They both need, well, okay, Hex.
Wins
okay.
for everybody.
Wins for everybody.
Participation, ribbons for everybody.
They need it a lot, okay, because they've not been performing well, and they need higher seeding in the May tournament, which is starting next week, of course. London not looking so hot right now, but we did discuss in the small break the crunch time and what needs to work, and that thing was Glister's EMPs need to get followed up on, because currently they're not looking so hot. On the flip side though, Spark's ability to play around Godsby and their support line, which looks nigh on unkillable, is just working just a dream for them.
Yeah, I mean, both of these teams are 1 and 2 in the standings for the May Melee tournament. It's so hard to say. But yeah, a loss puts you in the basement with the likes of Chengdu and Seoul. Like, I mean, it's kind of odd to say Seoul is in the basement, but they're at the bottom of the standings right now. So you got to get those W's, you got to get the wins. So the winner of this will advance to, I believe, 2 and 2 in the standings, middle of the pack. Obviously, much better for seeding. You don't really necessarily want to go up against a team like Guangzhou or Shanghai. You'd like to be able to battle there in the middle, if at all possible. So an enormous set for both of these teams. But so far, this one did not live up to my billing. I thought this was going to be very close given the results that we had about 24 hours ago. And so far, London just do not look good at all. There's no other way of saying it.
Well, we'll see if Spark can end it with a rather quick and clean blow. Who is that jumping in spawn? Oh, it's Widow. That is very high up into the skybox. Very quick peek here for Godsby. Dora's going to switch over to the Torb yet again. Gliss did a little bit of scouting there, was on the side. Can't imagine Godsby's going to, yeah, of course he's going to switch. There you go, so old-fashioned Kree back onto the Torb as well. Are against London, playing the same kind of thing as they played on Anubis, Hex. They got the Sombra and they got Although on the Echo as well.
Yeah, that 2 pixels that you just saw Godsby aiming at is Although 4 miles away. Trying to get damage.
He's trying. Attempting is definitely a word. Well, Although still can play fairly close here, however. I wouldn't count him out just yet. Still a lot of damage down onto the tanks of Spark. A lot of free progress though the Spark can currently make, although the payload is slowly moving backwards. But if you find a kill like that, you can make sure the payload almost guarantees the first point. Rialto is so dangerous. A full hold map or you just get rolled on first is normally what happens.
Yeah, and it's a good map for Hangzhou because you can play Ryan Zarya. As I mentioned, I think Sasha is a very good Zarya. Diva and other off tanks, maybe not so much. I think that's definitely his best hero, and a defense that is not defending. I mean, they got to come in at some point. Oof.
Oh my word, that was close. Almost the double headshot by Godsby. High Noon is going to get opened up though, and Sanguinar's head gets clipped. Thank you very much, Godsby, with the 2K, sealing the deal. Although he's backing off, but it's going to get chased down. Adora, in fact, killing 2 people there with 1 spray, although and Glister are going to bite the dust.
Yeah, very nice for Adora. Like I said, when Adora and Sajin are playing well, this team looks very unstoppable. Although I do kind of think it's just London not playing up to their potential right now. They're running dive defense, but they're never diving. They're never going anywhere onto this team. They're just waiting around. J-Max gotten picked off twice, one by Zarya, and he goes in. Where's the rest of the team? Trying to walk up the stairs here, trying to just walk up high ground. Generally not a great idea.
Yeah, not against the 100 charge Zarya and Orion. You saw J-Mac kind of leap into the hammer swings, which isn't advised. Glister has got the EMP though. That's the one thing they've got going for them right now. There's going to be a hack onto Although though, as Gushwe does find himself back onto the payload. Just whether they actually choose to use the EMP at this point because Bebe's already down. Don't think so at this stage, as Godsby also ends up falling. Good start though for the Spitfire, saying that. Only 2 ults used, not even using the EMP.
I mean, it's good for JMac, though, finally. Like, at least they did something. They didn't just let him wait in the room the entire time and charge up ultimates. He's like, hey, guys, they're all in there. I'm going to go punch some people. Gets in there and actually gets a couple of kills. But the Spark, as you mentioned, have pretty much everything going for them. They only used Rally in that last fight. So this one comes down to the EMPs. And very early on...
Oh, very early EMP, but Godsby instantly taking him out. Immortality Field came out as well. That EMP didn't actually land on the crucial target, Bele, who can instantly hit the one key that saves the entire team. And they have ults to spare as well. Godsby with a sayonara to London Spitfire, who now have to back off and play extremely passive, knowing that Spark have so many ults to boot.
Yeah, JMac gets down to half health and has to leap out there, but he'll be taken out accordingly. There goes the secondary tank. There's a third tank on the field and a duplicate copy, but...
Although he's holding
this
shields.
One's going to go by the wayside.
Yeah, he's dead. He's gone. The rest of Spitfire are going to follow him as well. That was kind of a really sad engage, actually, from Spitfire. They got grabbed on the side. It's like, oh, they won't use another one. Well, no, they chuck an EMP as well. And then, although tried to combat all that damage incoming by changing to Ryan and swinging away, but he was the only one left.
I think some of Glister's early EMPs there, well, that early EMP in particular, goes back to all the way to Ilios, where he was getting out EMP'd and he got flashed before it could EMP. The other EMPs were coming off quicker, and it may just be a point of him pressing the issue of, if I don't EMP, my team will never go fight, and he's not getting ideal EMPs right now on this map.
Anubis on the back, Immortality Field though to... Oh, that boop would have been good, but Immortality Field was still up, so it wouldn't have actually killed anybody from the Spark. Although still getting hacked up at every possible opportunity. Shadow on the side, JMac ends up going down. Has got that prime array so he can leap out of there, but although is already dead, Highly is going to follow him as well. And Spark just continuing their mean streak on Rialto. This is what you want to see if you're a Spark fan. And like we said earlier on, Hex, it seemed like it was going to be the closest game of the night, but right now, not looking like it. 3 minutes and 17 seconds in the time bank on Rialto of all maps. Oh boy, does it feel good.
Yep. 19-2 eliminations. Final blows, rather. 19-2. 2 entire deaths for the Hangzhou Spark. That's it. That's my analysis.
I am done. My job here is done.
Well, I mean, what do you want me to say?
I may leave now.
Like, I mean, I really think like Glister is feeling forced to push the issue with EMPs early on so that his team doesn't get rolled over. He says, okay, right now, we're not EMP'd. I'm not flashbanged, so I guess we'll try to EMP. But as you mentioned, when the EMP came up the stairway, he did miss critical targets, and it didn't necessarily happen. Godsby has been hunting him down, too. Godsby is clicking a ton of heads. JMac seems to be... permanently stuck at half health. It's like he's playing Winston on a workshop mode where you only get 50 HP, because the moment he shows his head, he's getting plinked, and then he tries to dive out, and the rest of the team follows it up. Like, JMac has had a rough go of it. JMac got the only 2 kills, actually, for the London Spitfire. And in Primal Rage
there is so much planking in this game. You think you're in a department store, like a homeware store. Like, it's just absurd. That kill, by the way, with the Deadeye, that I feel so bad for Sanguinite. It looked like the shield was covering it. I did wonder, I thought the shield maybe broke, but there was the slightest gap, and he ends up going down.
Sometimes it just...
Oh, boy.
When it rains, it pours.
Well, London Spitfire, right now, the only rain that they're showing is the broken parts of their spacecraft, which is falling to pieces. Spacecraft, I mean airship, whatever, you know what I mean. It's 3
I was wondering where you're going with that. Just keep trying.
It's 3 a.m. It's 3 a.m. It's 3
I was like, I have no idea how this sentence ends.
Spaceship go boom. Airplane go boom. That's my analysis.
Already, though, Hangzhou is holding a little bit forward. It seems like London has given up so much free ground in this game. You know, London or Hangzhou is just going to hold bridge. You're like, well, you know, you guys haven't shown us anything, so you're going to have to fight for every single inch.
Trying to take a mile at this point, trying to jump onto the front line. Godsby playing without fear, mind you. He's got the armor packs to back him up. I mean, why wouldn't you, right? Yeah, you're just getting tickled by all the damage from JMac and Clayston. And look, they're actually going to go back to spawn and change, it looks like. Or JMac getting his health back, maybe. No, just his health back. He just doesn't want to wait for eternity as their composition. Like we spoke about before, the Zen and Brig, not a lot of impact healing.
And both tanks dive at Godsby, and he doesn't even flinch. Doesn't move back. He's like, yeah, thanks for the charge. Appreciate it. And then they go back to spawn. So London, I think, right now, if you're London, you stop diving, you stop worrying about it. You wait for Glister. He's at 90%, 95. There it goes. He's getting the rest of it. So this is the time that get the EMP. Everyone needs to be in fighting shape. Everyone healthy. Everyone in position. And you should win this fight.
Both teams now with the EMP though, as Godsby's one comes online. As first one, only one person, just Gushue, instantly met with the Transcendence. So we're going to be escorted out. Highly actually activates his, EMP, his Transcendence super early. Now Godsby's got the EMP. This is disaster for the Spitfire right now, and I'm not even sure they're going to need to use it. No, they're not. They're going to clone the Diva. Clayston's going to fall. So now look what they're doing. They're actually forcing them all the way back to the spawn. They are pushing them in spawn. They are damaging them in the spawn room, by the way. This is what we are currently witnessing. J-Mac gets body blocks and almost instantly killed by that self-destruct. Spitfire have barely got on the payload around the first corner with 1 minute and 40 seconds remaining, Hex.
I don't hate the EMP because I get it. Like, the Hangzhou Spark are all over the place. They're rarely together. It's going to be difficult to get multiple people. But the one person you'd want to EMP would be, one of the support lines. Instead, they EMP Gushue to try to deal with him, but he just gets held up by all the supports. Another EMP. That's from
That was big, though. Huge. It hit highly.
See, exactly. Like, that's the target you want to solo EMP.
Strip away the shields and instantly get the kill. Glister's almost got an EMP, mind you. This could be it. Although, well.
Oh no, highly.
He's. Ooh. Godsby knows where Translocator is. Okay, this is actually pretty big. If Glister ends up using the EMP, Godsby can instantly, as soon as Glister reveals himself, you can instantly kill him if you kill the Translocator. I want to know if it's gone down. Godsby ends up in the back line actually killing Highly. Yeah, so he not only did Godsby kill off Highly there, but he actually destroyed the Translocator to make sure that Glister couldn't get back. Sanguinar used the rally to keep everybody alive, but he was then cornered in a room, so the rally wasn't affecting anybody because Gushue was juggling him in a corner.
Okay, 30 seconds left. It's London's time to shine here. EMP, you've got to duplicate, and, well, that's it. But it's time to hit one of these combos. EMP, duplicate, do something. Like, it's a sad sight to see the cart not even around the bend.
They got the tools. Like you said, they have to spot out Baby. Early rally as well was actually humongous brain from ID. Glister's dead! He gets booped! He's... Highly also dies to Godsby in the back. This is done. It's over, Hex. Look away from the screen. If you're a London Spitfire fan, turn off the monitor because this is disaster. A Spark have ran over the London Spitfire. The Transcendence is going to be there. The EMP comes out. Highly is pushing everybody forward. Potentially still winnable as Assassin is dead, but Bebe kept everybody alive for so long there on the payload with the Transcendence. Although he's also going to fall. Sanguinar long gone as well. OT will tick through in a blink of an eye if they get off the payload, and there it is. The Spark with a 3-0 over Spitfire in sheer domination. There was no way I could have come into today and thought that this was how this series was going to go. I thought the results were flipped. I thought Charge were going to have a very easy game against Hunters, and this was going to be a close one. But Spark coming out the gate swinging.
Just shows, it's parity. You never really know. I mean, when we were in rehearsal, we talked about it. It was like, okay, well, this game will probably go here, maybe 4 maps. But I expect a banger of a second match. That second match is going to be sick. Like, London just played Shanghai, super, super close. This Hangzhou team has some faults in it. As the series went on last night, they became more apparent. But London just brought nothing to this. That's... Honestly, some of it is some embarrassing footage to be putting down in Overwatch. It's really, really bad. But, let's focus on the positive. I thought Adora had one of his better games. I said, like, when this team gets Adora and Sashin playing well, they could beat anybody. They might add some more parts. They might supplement this roster. But you've got players like Godsby. The backline is so good. Speaking of Godsby, the Gods be good. He is our player of the match. No surprise here. We love damage dealers at the Overwatch League. And so gift to Godsby. Makes sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, he single-handedly won some of those fights on his own. The Xfinity player of the match, like you said, is going to be Godsby. And just being able to not only take out the Zen in the backline without an EMP, and then destroying Translocator, and just being able to be so patient with that as well. And
Glister getting... I wouldn't even call it baited in, because you don't know that the enemy Sombra is on your translocator for you to actually kind of react accordingly, right? Glister's going to go, okay, so I can reveal myself, I can do damage, I can get a hack, maybe set myself up for an EMP. It's not going to happen when Godsby uncloaks, melees the translocator or shoots it once, and then just one clips your backline.
And it was just demoralizing. A lot of, especially Rialto, it felt like London was mailing it in. Like how the first 2 maps went, it was just like, it dawned on them that like, we're not winning tonight. To not like even get across the bridge on Rialto, for their defense to give up all of that bridge and never fight, it seems like a confidence issue. I'm no sports psychologist, but like it did seem like they were never really certain, and then that leads to Glister kind of pressing the issue a lot of the times and not getting everything going done. So yeah. Very, very nice play from Godsby. This Hangzhou team has been a fun one to watch. The Guangzhou team, a super fun one to watch. They will both get W's tonight. But I think if Hangzhou adds some pieces, they could vie for the top spot in this region easily.
Yeah, that mystery hero that's coming in for the Spark.
Yeah. But
I really want to see who it's going to be, because to be honest, right now I'm like, oh, who do they need?
Well,
because they're looking to play right now.
It's pretty much process of elimination. It's going to either be an off-tank or a DPS, right? Because you're not replacing Godsby. Baby and IDK are staying forever, and Guchui's staying, right? So these are your 4. You know that 100%. You're going to run them. Unless I'm completely wrong. It's rare. So it's either going to be a flex tank or a... come on. You're supposed to be on my team.
It's very rare.
It's either going to be a flex tank or a DPS. But honestly, both Sasha and Adora played fine tonight. Maybe that was London playing really bad, but I thought Adora actually had a pretty solid game. So if anything, it adds depth to the squad, and this pink team in the Overwatch League looks very, very good.
Yeah, looking rather clean. And Hex, what's happening next week? Well, it's going to be the main tournament, and let's have a look at the standings going into it. We said at the start of the series, and I'm going to harp on it again, London and Spark needed W's right here, right now, and locking in at the first seed as well was Charge with that victory over Hunters. That could have gone the other way, but Charge have looked so good in recent memory. Having seen them at the start of the season, you didn't really expect such a almost miraculous turnaround, but it's looked just so good for them time and time again, iteration after iteration of compositions and just who they want to put in as well. We know Nero was taking a little bit of a step back this week, and one thing you want to know for your favorite team, can they play with their bench players on their roster? Yes, they can. And this is why they are number 1 currently. 4-0 Hex with a +8 map differential.
Well, technically, Happy came off the bench. If that's the guy coming off the bench, you're okay with that. Shanghai not able to take that top spot because of a loss to Seoul of all teams. Seoul is super confusing, sitting there at the bottom of the rankings. Yeah, it's a wild region to try to predict here, but I think that the top level of play here is so fun to watch. Some of the best damage dealers in the world play in this region. Spark grabbed that win. Guangzhou grabbed that win. You could kind of tell, like, during Season 2, probably the second half of Season 2, of like, oh, these expansion teams know what they're doing. The Chinese expansion teams, particularly these 2 that we're talking about, they know what they're doing, and this region has been super fun to watch. But it's weird because teams that play another team really close, like London played Shanghai close last night, which is why I came into tonight thinking like, oh, London's close to being a good team, just disappears for an entire series. Hangzhou is the beneficiary there. This tournament is going to be sick.
Yeah, I want to know if this streak for London is going to continue. I think that's going to be the big question on everybody's minds going into next week, of course. Shanghai Dragons, though, and the Charge looking strong. And like you said, this is definitely one of the most competitive regions that we have. And I think when the 2 regions do meet again, I think a lot of the North American squads are going to have a tough time going up against Charge and Dragons. It has been a rather different kind of styles of play and like metas that we are seeing between the 2 regions. So again, that will kind of clash, and that's one of my favorite things, in fact, of this. Obviously, the situation we're in does kind of suck, but looking at the small bright sparks, we are seeing 2 different metas kind of evolving in how teams want to play each of them. So that is definitely something to look forward to when they do eventually meet up again.
Yeah, definitely. I think Paris and Philly could hang with most of these teams out here. But I said that the gulf between the top teams in NA and some of the lower teams is much bigger than the worst team in APAC and the best team in APAC, because any given day, apparently, one team can beat the other. I mean, it's been a round robin of thrashings out here.
That it has been, but that is going to be it for us this evening. My name has been Jaws, of course, and Hex, and thank you to everybody who's watching and all the lovely production staff behind the scenes as well, who work tirelessly day in, day out to make this product as crispy clean as it can be. We'll see you guys very soon. Tournament coming up next week. I'm looking forward to it. Mark it down your calendars. You're not going to want to miss it. I will bring the banana back and threaten you guys once more if it comes to it. We'll see you guys soon. Good night.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Xfinity, the preferred internet provider of the Overwatch League.